Welcome in. We have made it to a football Friday. Welcome into Three-Man Front. Pat, Conrad, Molly, Landrum Roberts with you until 2 o'clock today. Very busy program. Coach Wimp Sanderson will join us, as he always do, every Friday at the bottom of the hour. He'll give us a blue plate for the weekend. Barrett Sallee at 11 o'clock. We'll have Mike Rodak from Bama 247 get his preview of the Alabama-Mizzou game. And we'll have Kyle Parmalee coming up at 1 o'clock as the high school football season. It's crazy, Landrum, that we started this about 10 weeks ago, and here we are. Things are starting to wind down, and both of our teams, Spain Park and Hewitt-Trussville, they have punched their ticket to the postseason.
Yeah, it is. I don't know why we're surprised because it happens this way. It seems like the college season has gone slower for me than the high school season, but...
Well, it happens when you're on the sideline with a team that's only won one game.
That's fair. That is a fair assessment, Mr. Smith, but...
Hey, Connor, I'm not being a smart aleck. I was stating a fact.
He is stating a fact.
I was smiling at my phone.
No, you weren't.
It was fair. We know what you were smiling at. We know exactly what you were smiling at. But no, that's fair, Pat. On Friday nights, though, Spain Park Jaguars, they're 8-0 and have already clinched the region. We'll be hosting in the first round, but got to take care of business, take on Chilton County tonight, final region game, and then on the road to Gardendale next week.
Molly and I will be in Tuscaloosa tonight as the Huskies will be taking on Tuscaloosa County as we wrap up the regular season. If Hewitt wins tonight, we will be the third seed, and we'll be playing in Mobile in a couple of weeks.
Will Coach DeBoer be bringing the team over to witness greatness?
I don't know. Maybe Malachi Moore will stop by. Cade Carruth. Got a few guys that are on the roster for the University of Alabama football team. I do not think I'll see them tonight.
No. They doing the movie thing on Friday nights?
I don't know.
I was about to say, let me know if they're there, because then I'm going to be very concerned about tomorrow.
Well, if they have music during practice, I'm just imagining that Friday nights, that could be a big thing. Bring in like a comedian, maybe a magician.
It's obviously a pizza party. On
balloon
Friday
animals.
Nights. Come on.
Who knows?
That'd be fun.
Actually, I think it's ice cream night.
Ice cream night? Okay.
I think so. All right, so we had the availability reports come out last night. And no change from what's going on with the Alabama part of things. Meanwhile, the University of Missouri, a little bit of intrigue going on with what's happening with them. A couple of days ago, you had Pete Thamel from ESPN. He comes out and he says that Nate Noel, their top running back, not expected to play this weekend. Also goes on in a separate tweet to say that Brady Cook is very limited. Probably going to be a difficult thing for him to be able to play on Saturday's game. Well, Gabe DeArmond, he is the publisher of Power Mizzou. It's the number one website that covers the University of Missouri athletics. He was quoted last night on his website. He said the following on Brady Cook: "I'll be surprised if he doesn't play. The only way he's not playing is if they tell him he isn't allowed to play." This availability report is the definition of gamesmanship. Half the starting lineup is on it. I've had multiple people with St. Louis ties tell me they think he plays. And this was after the Thamel tweet. He may not finish. He may not be himself, but I'll be really surprised if he doesn't give it a go.
Gamer. College football playoff berth on the line for Missouri, right?
Yeah.
You would assume.
Alabama's season on the cusp of disaster.
Not saying they can't get it done with Drew Prime, but based on what I saw from Drew Prime, there is a night and day difference with him running that offense and Brady Cook, even if Brady Cook's at 75, 80%.
Now, I have not checked the line most recently, but the last I saw, I think last night, because I was curious because after that comment came out, seeing if that manipulated the potential Vegas spread at all. And as of right now, it's now 17.5. So it was 13.5. Then Pete Thamel's story comes out about Nate Noel and Brady Cook, and then it swells to 17. And currently in Vegas, it is minus 17.5 for Alabama.
Since last season, Missouri is 5-1 against the spread on the road. But the one blemish would be the beatdown that they received
in Texas
College
A&M.
Station, Texas.
Yeah. Now, according to Gabe DeArmond, who is the publisher of Power Mizzou, on running back Nate Noel, no, I don't expect Noel to play. So there you go, Conrad. I know you're excited because their top running back will not be available.
I just really don't think that stuff matters at this point, to be completely honest with you. I mean, it does, but there's
So you
times
think
they
an
couldn't stop
injured
anybody.
Brady Cook matters or not?
No, it does. I certainly think.
Or is this all about what Alabama needs to do?
This is more about Alabama, isn't it, Conrad?
Well, yeah, it is. Because if Missouri's fully healthy and Alabama's fully healthy and Alabama plays a good game, they would win because they're more talented. But I mean, we now have a track record of Alabama being better on paper than teams and underperforming and losing twice.
Yeah, South Carolina wasn't more talented. Vanderbilt wasn't more talented. You can make the argument that Tennessee wasn't more talented.
Exactly.
ESPN gives Alabama an 82% chance of winning. Do you like those odds?
No. I would put
There's just no confidence whatsoever coming from him.
I would put Alabama's odds of winning at 51%.
Really? 51%?
Wow.
Yes, because I think that they should win.
51%.
Yes.
But Alabama's still ranked number 3 in the college football power index, according to ESPN.
Yeah, that doesn't mean crap, obviously.
With a quarterback on crutches and your starting running back probably not even making the trip.
Yep.
Give me a break.
Conrad, the last time Mizzou beat Alabama was 1975 at Legion Field in Birmingham.
It's great. When was the last time Vanderbilt beat Alabama?
1984, wasn't it?
Okay, well then that makes
84.
me... Okay, I feel better now. Thank you.
Would that not be something? You lose to the first time to Vandy since 84, and then you lose first time since 1975 to Mizzou. Ooh. Heck of a start.
Then you lose in Norman for the first time since that was the Tyler Watts game?
Since Dennis Franchione was the head coach?
Mm-hmm.
Let me be clear. I think Alabama's going to win tomorrow. I just don't think it's going to be pretty.
Just hold up until we do better to forget
12:30.
it. Just take it easy.
I'm itching.
That's from that shirt.
But Alabama has lost 3 straight against the spread at home for the first time since 2017. So just keep that in your back pocket.
In your bonnet.
Yeah, for bet it or forget it, just in case. You remember that stat I gave you guys last week where Alabama was 13th in the SEC in total defense, and they were trending for the worst Alabama defense since 2003? Well, needless to say, they added to that total last week after their Tennessee defensive struggle. Alabama's now they were 20-something yards away from meeting that 2003 number on average. Well, now they're 8 yards away from being the worst since 2003. So you got something to look forward to this weekend, Conrad.
Can't wait. No, it'll be fun. It's always fun, but stressful.
So you will not be going to the game?
I will not. I will be doing other things.
Molly will be going to the game. Molly will be there in attendance.
I will be there. Hopefully I'm the good luck charm.
I don't have a game tomorrow, so all day, wall to wall, I'm going to be ready. I'll be simulating things there in my sports room. Walk of Champions.
Oh. I didn't know where you were going there with simulations.
I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can simulate things, but no, I'll go to the Walk of Champions. I'll pretend that I'm getting ready for, well, I will be getting ready for a lot of action. I don't know. It might involve athletic tape. Let me have my day.
Yeah, you do you.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
All right. So last night, did any of you play Pittsburgh?
No.
Nope.
No, I wish I had.
Nobody did.
Mm-mm.
Seriously?
I got scared.
I did too. Syracuse's look good.
Dude, I loaded up on Pitt.
Good for you.
I sent.
That was over early.
I even sent Molly a stat, like 3 different stats about Pittsburgh, trying to help her out because I knew that she got behind in some of her money wagering in the early part of the week after Monday Night Football. So I was trying to help her out to get back in the good, and I gave her some just knockdown, incredible stats about Pitt coming off a bye week, having 10 days under Narduzzi. Oh my gosh, load up. And so last night, this is the way it sounded on ESPN. Man, it did not take long taking on the Syracuse Orange.
Allen motions out of the backfield. McCord looks left. It's intercepted. Touchdown, Pitt. McCord intercepted. Kyle Lewis. Touchdown, Pitt. It's just been that kind of night. Braylon Lovelace.
That was my favorite. Well, it's just been that kind of night.
Doesn't even have to say what happened because you knew what happened.
Nope. Kyle McCord, 3 pick sixes, 5 interceptions on the night. Pitt became the first FBS team with 3 interceptions returned for touchdowns and a half since 2005.
I saw that Kyle McCord is the first ACC quarterback to have over 300 passing yards and 5 interceptions in a game since Daniel Jones.
Woo.
Oh, my goodness.
Never good when you're in a stat category with Daniel Jones.
No.
So Pitt jumps out to a 17-0 lead. At the 6:36 mark of the first quarter, the offense for Pitt had gained 16 total yards. Not bad when you're up 17-0 and you have 16 yards of total offense. Former Alabama quarterback Eli Holstein, obviously you got the big lead. You don't have to do much. He was 11 of 17, 108 yards passing. He did have 2 touchdowns. Here's the interesting part right now. So Pitt was picked 13th in the ACC preseason poll. 13th. They're 7-0 for the first time since 1982. Syracuse now falls to 5-2, 2-2 in the ACC. But Pitt, their schedule's about to get a little bit more real for them. So they go to SMU on November the 2nd. And then this one is going to be huge. November 16th, Clemson comes to Pittsburgh. So that will be a very interesting game, and to see if Pitt is still perfect. And even if they do drop a game, that's still going to be a very important game in the championship race for the ACC. But hats off, man. Narduzzi is one of these dudes, but man, his defense, they call themselves the Sharks. Don't know if that has been some type of copyright infringement to those in Oxford.
Just Sharks, not land sharks.
Yeah, they're just the Sharks. So big win for Pitt last night, 41-13 over Syracuse. I had this game on one of my auxiliary televisions last night, and every time I looked up, Old Dominion was doing something nasty to Georgia Southern. And then when you look at the final stats, they had 560 yards of offense against a pretty good Georgia Southern team.
That was a Georgia Southern team that they had 2 losses, and they were the quality opponents, and they were just finding ways to win. But I'm glad I stay away from that game too.
No, I didn't touch that one either. But Old Dominion wins at home 47-19. Their freshman quarterback threw 4 touchdown passes. He had 304 yards passing. Pretty good for a freshman. The Monarchs finished, as I mentioned, 560 yards. Old Dominion now 4-4, 3-1 in the Sun Belt. Same record as Georgia Southern in the Sun Belt, who now falls to 3-1 in conference play, 5-3. So pretty interesting night of football. But I want to go to the NFL quickly. Did you guys see the controversial call at the end of the game? Did you think it was a face mask, yay or nay?
Oh, I mean, it was obviously a face mask.
Yeah.
I mean, the player even, you could tell by his reaction that he realized he messed up, but he got away with it.
So if you did not get a chance to see the clip or watching it live last night on Prime, the Rams win 30-20 against the Vikings. Stafford throws for 279. Big performance by Puka. He was back last night. He had 106 yards receiving. Cooper Kupp was back. He had a big night as well. The Vikings were held to just 6 points in the final 3 quarters. It looked promising at the beginning of the game. So after starting the season 5-0, the Vikings are now 5-2. The Rams are 3-4. So there was this controversial call. Now, the Vikings were going to have to go the length of the field with what, a minute 40 something?
They're going to have to go 97 yards.
Yeah.
Yep, and a minute and a half.
Yeah, a minute and a half. And they were going to have to score a touchdown and convert the 2-point conversion to potentially send it into overtime. Play in the end zone. Darnold goes down for a safety. It appears that his face mask was grabbed. Now, I wish we saw more of this in the college game. So the Professional Football Writers Association of America, they have a pool reporter. And so the pool reporter had an opportunity to talk to referee Trey Blake after the game. And so this was the question. On the Vikings' last offensive play, it looked as if the quarterback had his face mask pulled. What did you guys see on that play? This was what the white cap told the poll reporter. Well, on that play, the quarterback was facing the opposite direction from me, so I did not have a good look at it. I did not have a look, and I did not see the face mask being pulled. Obviously, The umpire had players between him and the quarterback, so he did not get a good look at it. He was blocked out as well. So that was the thing. We did not see it, so we couldn't call it. We couldn't see it. So then the follow-up question was there a discussion on the field? Because obviously the Vikings were complaining about it. Did your crew have a discussion about, hey, did we miss this or anything like that on the field? The Whitecap. On the field, we definitely did discuss it because they did bring up the concern. We discussed it as a crew, but we weren't able to see it on the field, so we weren't able to make that call. The final follow-up, is that play reviewable? The Whitecap, it is not reviewable.
I'm watching the replay. Number one, I don't know what other referee in the back of the end zone is looking at, but Whitecap, for him to miss that and standing there, and he even moves and postures his body where he's trying to stretch around, inexcusable. You see a guy's head violently ripped back on a play like that, you at least have to have a conversation. Shame on him. Shame on that crew.
I'm disappointed in the Vikings fans because they should have just thrown a bunch of crap on the field and they would have overturned it.
I'm not saying that would have been they had a long way to go and you're down by 8 points at that juncture, but
you want a chance.
This is the NFL. These are supposed to be the best of the best.
Why is it reviewable?
I agree with that.
I think, to me, I think everything should be reviewable. Everything. Like stop putting these safeguards. I mean, everything. Everything. I mean, give them an extra challenge. That's the one thing that I will say I love about the UFL. And I think ultimately the NFL needs to adopt that. Like you want to throw a challenge flag on a pass interference call, or I want to throw a flag on a hold, whatever the case may be. You have the video technology. You got 25 million cameras at every freaking football game. Just get the call right.
I mean, I'm with you. I mean, even if it's just you have a normal challenge for a call on the field, like where the ball spotted, something like that, an incompletion, and then you have an extra, you get one challenge a game on a penalty. And if you win, you get an extra one. If you lose, you're done. And so at the very least, then you have an opportunity in these big moments to, get the right call made, because in that spot, again, probably unlikely that the Vikings send it to overtime.
Correct.
But you want the chance.
I don't know if we'll get anything publicly from the NFL out of New York, but I guarantee you they disagreed with the referee or the guy that made that statement. What was his name? Blake?
Trey Blake.
Trey Blake?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was the Whitecap.
There's no way you don't have a conversation at least with the other officials.
Well, you said they discussed it, but nobody had a view.
Or nobody had a view. Well,
yeah.
For him not to have a view, and I just looked at the camera shot from the end zone that was right behind him over his left shoulder.
Well, it's frustrating because you could see the Vikings players going up to them and, pointing up at the video board like it's right in front of your face.
Yeah.
And
yeah, this text comes in, Landrum, in regards to the Vikings game. Vegas pays for and owns the NFL. See? Conspiracy theories right there.
Well, it was part of the script, right, that they wrote before the season.
Yes.
So.
We're going to have a blown face mask call on this Thursday night game.
Probably not going to cover that game, push at best.
Correct.
I will throw that out there.
You're right. You're right. Well, if you're looking for somewhere to grab a bite to eat for lunch today, why not stop into Twin Peaks and Hoover, because they have some great new menu options for you to try out here in the month of October. When you order the wings, try out some of their new wing sauces, including the chicken tikka and spicy chili crisps wing sauces. They also have some new flatbread options with their backyard barbecue brisket flatbread, and of course their new quesadilla tacos featuring their in-house smoked brisket and birria broth for dipping. Those are some of the wonderful options you should check out when you visit our friends at Twin Peaks and Hoover for lunch. And they also sponsor our daily 3-man front Twitter poll question of the day. And Molly, for our Filthy Friday, what is our poll question?
What is your bold prediction for tomorrow? Is it Auburn getting their first SEC win, Vanderbilt scaring Texas, Bama struggles but wins, or the Milkmen prevail over LSU? And right now winning with 33.8% is Auburn will get their first SEC win, 31.3% saying Vanderbilt will scare Texas, 23.9% saying Bama will struggle but will win, and only 10.9% saying the Milkmen will prevail.
How'd you vote, Conrad?
I voted Auburn getting their first SEC win.
I did too.
Me too.
I think it's going to happen.
I also don't think the Alabama one's a bold prediction.
You think that's more of a you are so down on Alabama.
I'm just saying that's the current reality that we're living in. Like,
you don't go to games anymore.
No.
I mean, you're mad at them because now you got to do this stinky fish challenge coming up.
Y'all made me wear this jersey today. I told you I'm not going to wear the 2 jersey. He said, yeah, you have to, Conrad.
It's a tradition.
Yeah.
Every Friday.
Oh, I know.
All right, this is the Friday edition of Three Man Front. Wimp Sanderson will join us at the bottom of the hour. Barrett Sallee at the top of next hour. A very busy Friday. Thanks for tuning us in. This is Jocks 94.5. It is 10:24, Jocks 94.5. Coach Wimp Sanderson will join us at the bottom of the hour. Top of the hour, we'll talk to Barrett Sallee, Mike Rodak, Bama 247 at noon. Kyle Parmalee kind of sets the stage for a very busy night in high school football at 1 o'clock.
Well, the holidays are approaching, and that means holiday parties, lots of great food. We're going to indulge. Let's be honest. Why not get a head start on keeping that weight off with our friends at Mandu in downtown Homewood? Mandu is electrical muscle stimulation fitness. Your first visit, they're going to put you through the workout. They're going to put you into the Unifit suit, hook you up to a machine that sends electric pulses to various parts of your body, whether you're trying to add muscle, build up endurance, or just feel better overall. Mandu is the place for you. The best part about Mandu, this is a selling point. Somebody asked me about it the other day. 15 minutes. It's 15 minutes of a workout, and you're going to get results. I've gotten results. Damian Mitchell here at Jocks has gotten results. So many other Jocks listeners have gotten results as well. You still have time in the month of October to save on your monthly membership. Go to Mandu.com. That's MANDUU.com, or you can follow them on Facebook, also on Instagram at Mandu Homewood. Check it out. First visit's free, 15 minutes. You're going to get results. Mandu in downtown Homewood. Tell Paul and the gang that Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
We've got a couple minutes. If you'd like to get a phone call in, 1-800-239-WJOX, the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. Texts are coming in as we speak on this Football Friday here on Jocks.
The question about where will Mike Stoops be coaching next season? Not Mark Stoops, but Mike Stoops? Not really sure. There's some question if Mark Stoops might hang it up by the end of the season. There's some conjecture there. If you'll remember how frustrated he was in the article that was done, it was by one of their publications, Pat, that covers the team, if I can recall. And he was just talking about it's so hard to manage time because he's having to go out and he's having to reach out to fund boosters and do different fundraisers to try to keep up in the NIL realm.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's the inside linebackers coach for his brother at Kentucky.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
So their defense has played well. It's been their offense that has been sporadic. Right? Is he not the inside linebackers coach?
Yes, he was. And before that, he was a analyst at Alabama for a couple of years. He was the DC at FAU.
Arizona.
Head coach at Arizona. He was a defensive coordinator at Oklahoma.
He was at Kansas State, I think.
Yeah, he spent a long time at Kansas State. And he started off at Molly's favorite school.
Iowa. That makes sense. I don't know if he played there, but his brother did. So,
Anthony, who calls himself and describes himself as an optimistic Auburn fan, this does not sound too optimistic, but Anthony texted in, I have a hard time believing AU will win any game with Peyton Thorne at quarterback. If AU is down by 4 with 2 minutes left in the fourth, deep in your own territory, Peyton Thorne will not win the game for you.
Well, here's the good news. Kentucky only averages 20 points per game in the SEC.
Their leading running back is out.
Yep. They're last in total offense, last in passing offense, last in team passing efficiency, and 14th in completion percentage. So I think if Auburn doesn't turn the ball over, I like Auburn to get that first win.
Another one coming in. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Auburn winning a game is like snow. I'll believe it when I see it. When there are all zeros on the clock and AU has more points than the opponent, then I'll believe AU will win. I'm kind of right there with you now.
So you got a couple things going on. I mentioned it. Mizzou has not beaten Alabama since 1975. Kentucky hasn't beaten Auburn in Lexington since 1966. Now, granted, Mizzou and Alabama didn't play a lot. Even when they joined the conference, they haven't played a lot. And Kentucky and Auburn, especially once you went to divisions, very rarely did Kentucky and Auburn play. So that's why the discrepancy of how many years it's been since they last win. But Kentucky, 1966.
Last 20 times they've played, Auburn's 18-2.
Yeah. 10 of their last 12 SEC home games, the Wildcats have lost.
Drake, a Florida fan, says if Auburn loses by 2 touchdowns, will Hugh Freeze be on the hot seat?
Now, I think we've discussed this before. I think we all collectively as a group believe that next year will be the line of demarcation for next season, depending on how this team finishes. And then next year, thinking he needs to get 7, 8, 9 wins, whatever that number may be. There will definitely be pressure. I'm not really sure a hot seat would be in play, but.
Oh, man. I'm just imagining them losing by 2 touchdowns to Kentucky. I mean, it would be, 17-3 probably? Something like that.
How about this question? If Kane Womack takes the Southern Miss job, who becomes the DC? Brent Venables.
Pete Golding.
Bill Belichick.
Brent Venables. What a dream that would be.
Saban back. He only coaches on Fridays or Saturdays.
Well, he's already getting a salary.
Except Fridays because there was a coach here locally that would come in and call plays on Fridays for a high school team a while back.
I have questions for you in a break.
He also had a controversial podcast that emerged later after his coaching career was over. And I believe he's still got some VHS cassette tapes that you can order and learn his system. Chill says critical plays should be automatically reviewed in the booth. Penalties or missed penalties on plays over 20 yards, scoring plays, and turnovers.
Couldn't agree more.
What about penalties within 2 minutes of, last 2 minutes of the first half and the second half? Reviewable. I feel like there's a lot of options on the table.
We were discussing Friday nights. What does the team do under Kalen DeBoer? Is it a team movie? Is it ice cream? Posey recommends Friday night pillow fights. Those can be fun.
Because they're soft, like the players?
BB texts in, is Landrum going to reenact OJ's 2-hour freeway chase since he's driving around a Bronco? If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
I asked you that this morning.
Man, I love that Bronco. It's so much fun to drive. It is not white. It's like a marine, I don't know, like a marine gray, maybe. But if you'll remember, Al Cowlings was going the speed limit during that chase.
It was not a high-speed chase.
I hope for my sake I do not have blue lights behind me at any point, especially while I'm in that Bronco.
Coach Wimp Sanderson is going to join us next on this Football Friday. You're listening to Jocks 94.5. Oh, we're just moments away from finding out who Coach Wimp Sanderson likes this week for his famous blue plate that was victorious last week as he took the Army Cadets against East Carolina. Poor Army. They got a guy fired last week to beat the Pirates, and they fired their coach on Sunday.
Well, they did their best to let them backdoor cover that game. They barely covered.
That's all you care about. You don't care about a man's job. All you care about if they cover or not.
They've been going through exams and all kinds of, PT tests that have nothing to do with football. The strain that is put on those service academy guys, it's pretty incredible. Both them and Navy in the seasons they're having.
All right, it's time to find out who Coach likes this week and get his thoughts on Alabama's tough loss at Tennessee. And it's brought to you each and every week by Craneworks.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah. The big dog's got it.
Wimp Sanderson on Three-Man Front is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it. The big dog's got it. And now, Wimp Sanderson.
I faced it all,
he is, the coach, fresh off of 5 straight weeks of winners.
Yeah, how about that?
You were on fire, Coach. How are you?
Well, if you bet it the day I gave it, it was 16. The next day, you broke even because it jumped to 17. But still a good win. East Carolina's not very good. I felt like Army was too much for them, so that's what happened. We'll talk about the other one in just a few minutes. I don't guess y'all haven't had a Grand Marshal of the homecoming parade on today, have you?
Not yet.
Well, you're talking to him now. I forget how many years ago it was, but I was on the back of a convertible. I didn't wear a hat. And you know what I'd like to know? I'd like for them to go back and look at all the goobers that were Grand Marshal of the homecoming parade over all these years. They'd be 950 years old.
Were you sitting on the back of the convertible with a pretty young lady?
No, I was sitting by myself, and we went down University Avenue and down through the thing. I was real honored to be, a basketball guy to be Grand Marshal of the homecoming parade. It was a big deal to me. So
did you throw candy?
I threw something. I did throw a little candy. I'm not sure it was candy. I threw something. I don't know what it was. But anyway, I didn't wear a hat, and I just sat back there and I don't smile. Everybody says I don't smile.
Yeah.
And so I sat back there and didn't smile. So they could all say, he still doesn't smile.
You stayed in character.
Yeah, I stayed in character. Congratulations to me.
That's so good.
Hey, Coach, when did Corky Simpson? You remember he was the rider in Arizona that was the only person in 1992 that picked Alabama to win the national championship. Did they bring him back for like the celebration parade, or was it the homecoming the next year?
I don't know. Corky Simpson. I remember the name, but I don't remember. I don't even know what year I was. I'm not even gonna say what year I was there. So, but I don't know. But there's been a lot of guys, gals,
Sheila Ward,
football players.
I'm sure Sheila Ward was a homecoming.
Ward, she's stronger than dirt. Yeah, she's gorgeous. Yeah. Sheila Ward is gorgeous. Football player that I used to kid him about her all the time. And I said, "How long did you date her?" And he never would tell me anything.
Who did she date? What football player did she date?
Dated, he got the restaurant there. I got my name.
Baumhauer.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, Bob,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, Bob dated her a long time. Yeah, she's very pretty.
Right.
And she went to New York and
made it big.
Got involved with a lot of things there. And she's very, she's from over Mississippi.
Yep.
I got a farm over there, and she's a very pretty girl. Yeah, I'm sure she was a homecoming.
She was a cheerleader too, was she not, Coach?
Yes, she was a cheerleader.
Yeah.
She sure was. Yeah, we went to. I never forget. We took our team. I've told this before. We took our team to Japan, and so we had to sign out all the papers. I've already told you this. And one of the things we had to sign that the cheerleaders I brought had to be blonde. They had to be blonde. We weren't going to get there. We weren't going to get to come. So I said, "Don't you worry. We're going to get them blonde cheerleaders. We're going to line them up and bring them with us."
And I'm sure they were very happy and pleased with who you brought.
They were very happy. In fact, one of them started dating one of my basketball players. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was, but there's a bunch of them.
Very nice. All right, so unfortunately, Coach, we got to ask you your opinion on what took place in Neyland Stadium. We knew it was going to be a tough game, but unfortunately, Alabama just had too many mistakes, too many undisciplined penalties.
Yeah, they did. Penalizing yourself will get yourself killed. And people keep saying that they had a lot of penalties prior to the new coach coming in, and they did have too many. But I thought in this particular game they just wore them out. And the one time that they had the opening there, I felt like to throw it right to him. Milroe didn't throw it very well. I don't think he's a great short. Ryan was right there ready to catch it, and for whatever reason, the pass wasn't that good. And then he threw one in the right end zone that all the commentators kept saying that if he go back to the other side, and he did. But that was interception there. So hard-fought game. Tennessee and Alabama, third Saturday in October has been there since I was, just a long, long time ago when I'm older than dirt, as you know. But it was, the interesting thing about Tennessee and Alabama is that when I was there with Coach Bryant, Bob Nalen was the coach at Tennessee, and Coach Bryant very seldom could beat him. Tennessee was getting a lot better football players. There wasn't anything about basketball at all, as people want to talk about. But during that period of time, Bob Nalen pretty much owned Kentucky. Coach decided to leave and go to Texas A&M, in which he did. And then, of course, from A&M to Alabama, and kept Hank Crispone as defensive coordinator there. So, but Tennessee and Alabama have always been a big rivalry back then. Those days I can recall with Coach Brown is kind of like the days for Nick Saban. It's that kind of era there of great teams. It's just like when in 2 weeks Alabama will play at LSU. Coach Brown had about as good a luck against LSU down there as anybody in the country. He played. I don't know why we're talking about all that, but that's, I guess, interesting to some of our fans anyway. But Coach Brown and them did awfully well at LSU. If the Missouri game gets the way we hope it will get, and the open date, and then LSU should be very interesting. We'll see.
Coach, who's the best team in college football?
The best team?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would have to say the best personnel is Ohio State. The best team is Oregon. I probably missed on both of them, but I do think this, and I want to say this in the right way. There was a, to me, it's just as a football fan caring about football, there was a different feeling for Georgia walking into the game against Texas than it was Alabama walking into the game against Tennessee. And I'm not trying to be ugly. Georgia didn't go in there to make pictures. They went in there to play. And their offensive coordinator ran good stuff, and Alabama's did too. But Georgia ran really good stuff. And the real thing that I have thought about Georgia, I'm sure everybody will disagree. The thing that really shows me about Georgia is the way they came back after being down so bad. And you're going to say to me, well, if they'd been down that bad, they couldn't be that good. But they got down bad against Alabama. And then them to come back the way they did, that's the game I was talking about. For them to fight back, there are a lot of teams, probably some of mine when I was coaching basketball, that it might have thrown in the towel, and they stayed with it and won. I think that's a good question, and I think if you ask 5 people that, you'd have 5 different answers. I thought the running on there for the 12-man deal that Oregon did was pretty cute, pretty good idea. Oregon's good. Well, Oregon's as good as Ohio State. That state's got the best personnel, and if he doesn't win it, he's ought to be fired and all that kind of stuff. Kirby does an awfully good job at Georgia, and I think the new football coach will be fine in Alabama. I think he's going to be fine. So I don't know. I guess I've answered 3 different answers. So who do you think?
I think that was a solid answer. I would go with Georgia right now, and part of that is based on them coming back against Alabama. Yeah. And I believe this Georgia team has played their worst games, and they were very fortunate to only have the 1 loss. But I think you're getting the best Georgia at the right time.
They have. He has very good assistant coaches. Mm-hmm. He has guys that have really know what they want to do. What's his name? The offensive coordinator. I've gone blank. But
Mike Bobo.
Mike Bobo. He and Mike are close. Mike is very, very good, and not that the ones at Alabama are not good. They are. I'm not trying to compare anything on this show, but I think Mike Bobo did a really good job of really studying what was the best thing to do. Sark's hard to play. He's a terrific player when he was at Alabama, a terrific coach when he was at Alabama, and they threw the passing game was terrific when he was there. So, but I would say the 3 teams that I've named. The Georgias and the Oregons and the Ohio States, probably somewhere. The interesting thing will be, for me, if Alabama can run the table. By that I mean beat the people they're supposed to beat, and go to LSU and win that game, do they have a good shot? Do they have a shot to get in? I guess they do. It's going to be, it's going to be right now. The percentages are not that great, but we'll see. Interesting game to me tomorrow. Will be LSU and A&M. Only two teams that we have in the league. I think I'm correct. They have not lost in the league.
Correct.
A little bit of a surprise there. They've done a good job, defensively. I think LSU's improved their team defensively a great deal. Bringing over the defensive coordinator from Missouri, who's good. They tackle better. He doesn't get a lot of credit for being a good head coach, but I think he's very, very good. The guy from Notre Dame, I think he's good. So it's and I think Alabama, still has a shot. I think the one thing that's really hard for you, if you lose one to the point that you think you don't have a shot for the 12, you have a hard time keeping your team ready to play every time, every weekend. You just do. From a mental, and you know how I am about this mental stuff, and we all show all the time. The mental is physical at 3-1. And I just think if you have a hard time, a little bit more difficult time getting your team ready to play, if they feel like, oh, we're not getting in, we're not going to get in. You've got to try to, you're not going to try to con them or anything, but you got to make them feel like that, we still got a shot to get in this thing. It's not over with. A lot of things can happen. So I think the longer you play, the more difficult it is. And, it's going to be interesting to see. To me, also, hadn't this never been brought up on any show, these guys are going to want more money when they play in the 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can recall they started wanting more money when we just had the bowl games. That's when it's kind of started. I'll play in the bowl game back sometime several years ago, but I'm going to need some money to play in the bowl game. And these things just crop up all the time on you, hard to coach. A lot of basketball coaches have gotten out of it. Football coaches have lost their jobs over all this mess. Hard to raise money and do what you need to do. My question to you two is: the SEC and the Big Ten in the middle of this United States, does that affect college football to the point that people on the East Coast and West Coast don't care about it as much?
That would be assuming that the people on the East Coast and the West Coast care about it now.
That's a good point.
Okay. Well, that might be a good point. And I keep forgetting the Oregons are in the Big Ten. I keep, I can't get all that straight myself. But you might be right. But it just seems like we got this thing down the middle of this world, right?
Yeah.
Down the middle of the United States with the Big Ten and the SEC. And I think, I think the ACC has fallen. You've got Miami, you've got Clemson with an outside shot. Not as big a shot as people seem to think, but they should have a good shot. Miami, of course, is probably going to get in there. And then in the Big 12, you're not sure how many is going to get in, one or two. On my show today, they had people calling in saying there's only going to be two from the SEC in the 12. So that that's just talk. It's just radio talk.
Coach, I hate to interrupt. We are up against it. Do you want to hang on, or do you want to do a blue plate now?
I'll do whatever. I'll do Crane Works and get it out of your way, because y'all got a guy that knows a lot more about football than I do. Coming up here in just a minute. Most trusted name in crane equipment rental is Crane Works. And they'll do everything they possibly can to be darn sure that you're satisfied, whether it be Mobile, Huntsville, Birmingham, wherever it might be. Rental Works and Crane Works and Waste Works, all these will do a terrific job for you. David and them do a terrific job of allowing me to be on your show. You guys allow me to be on the show, and I appreciate it.
Blue plate.
Gotta get your blue. Hey, coach, before you go, gotta get your blue plate.
Yeah.
Gotta get that. You're hot as fire.
My blue plate. Oh, good. My blue plate is tonight.
Okay.
7.5. Boston. I'm taking Louisville and giving them. It start off at 7.5.
Okay.
So you like Louisville at Boston College?
I do.
Okay. Going up against Bill O'Brien. Okay.
Yeah, and I think Bill O'Brien's a good coach.
Oh,
a lot
is.
of people don't. I think he's good.
No, he's good.
But I think Boston College high school night. Louisville's very, very good offensively now.
Mm-hmm.
Those Booger Bears this guy can coach them offensively.
They can sling it.
Yeah, he's good.
Coach, we appreciate
Later,
it.
alligator.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See ya. Coach Wimp Sanderson on the Buyers Right Hotline. More 3-man front and Jocks 94.5.
Tip 54, Jocks 94.5. Barrett Sallee is going to join us at the top of the hour. We'll tell everybody about Golston Tree Service, 205-337-4018. You need to put that number in your phone because the cool thing about it is that it's run by a arborist, a certified arborist, someone that obviously knows what they're doing when it comes to trees, your plants, and things around your house. And when you have a problem, whether you need a tree cut down, you need limbs trimmed, or you just absolutely need to get rid of something on your property, they can take care of it. 205-337-4018. Over 35 years of experience, 24-hour emergency storm work. Call Golston Tree Service today. Let them give you a free assessment of any issues that you think you have on your house. And if something does happen overnight, 24-hour emergency service. That's Golston Tree Service, 205-337-4018.
We continue with your text here on this Football Friday. We do have Barrett Sallee coming up at the top of the hour, and we'll break down the slate of big games, not only in the SEC with championship implications, but college football playoff berths. Steve texts in back to And it was Corky. I always want to say Corky Frost, but that was the guy
Corky Simpson,
in the
was it
Eric
not?
Ramsey investigation. Yes, Corky Simpson.
Yeah, from the Arizona Republic.
Correct. He says the Corky celebration parade, they brought Corky back for the championship parade. Michael adds that.
I could not remember if it was the championship parade or if it was homecoming or maybe A-Day in the spring.
If Kane Womack leaves, my money is on T-Rob, says one of our Jocks listeners.
Well, T-Rob had an opportunity to stay and get a big, fat raise, and he decided he wanted to go to Georgia. So
Jimmy asks, have we heard from Deborah about Auburn's season this year? No.
No, we have not.
No, Molly hasn't texted in about it yet.
Oh, Molly has eliminated some of her alter egos. She is now just Molly.
How many personalities are you down to
or
now?
Melanie or Millie?
I've gone from 7. Now I'm down to 4.
4. Okay.
Improvements.
Have you ever seen the movie Split?
Oh, yeah.
No, but I've seen Glass, which also has...
You get the general idea then.
Yeah.
Bobby says he's confidently picking his LSU Tigers to beat the Merry Milkmen 38-15 tomorrow night in College Station, Texas. Go Tigers. More of your predictions, more of your comments. 205-834-9450. You can vote at the number 3-man front on Twitter. Our poll question of the day. We give you options for your bold prediction for the college football weekend. And Barrett Sallee from Outkick, Smothered and Covered. Various outlets going to join us next. We'll get his thoughts on not only Alabama, Missouri, Auburn, Kentucky, but some other biggies like LSU and Texas A&M and other games nationally as well. Glad you're with us here on this Friday. America's home for college football. Jocks 94.5. 11 o'clock, three-man front here on this Football Friday. Landry, Pat Conrad, Molly, glad you're with us. Whether you're listening up in North Alabama, there in the capital city of Montgomery, or you're watching on Jocks TV, just search YouTube and go to JOX945, and it will pop up there. Also, you can download the Jocks 94.5 app and take us wherever you go throughout your college football, NFL, high school football travels, and beyond. And you'll have the option there where you can view us via the app, or you can listen to us as well. But we appreciate all of you fine folks for tuning in each and every day.
So yesterday was Kalen DeBoer's 50th birthday. Don't know if you sent him a card. Don't know if you did anything.
No, I ordered him a cameo, but it was turned down.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Was it Connor Stallions?
It was not Connor Stallions. No.
Well, today is Brian Kelly's birthday.
I got Ben and Jerry from Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
Oh, okay.
He respectfully declined.
Oh,
I don't get my money back either.
All right. Brian Kelly turned 63 today. So how about that? Kalen DeBoer one day, the next day, Brian Kelly.
So many great football coaches born in the month of October.
And don't forget, Nick Saban's birthday is coming up on Halloween.
Yeah, next Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
October the 31st.
Yep. Kelly is the SEC's oldest head coach. And he is the 10th oldest overall in all of college football.
Kelly's aging well, a lot like Nick Saban.
He's lost some weight since he's been down in the Bayou. Yeah. Looks good. Looks
Which
healthy.
is hard to believe because I would think going down
would be a
the
problem
Bayou because of all
Great
the good food
yeah.
and it's very rich and it's not exactly the healthiest. I love Cajun food. Could just eat it up every single day. Well, how about our friends at Evolve IT? Evolve IT, they're your local trusted IT partner, networking, cybersecurity, all of that good stuff. They're local. And that's the important thing to remember. Evolve IT, they absolutely can take care of you. Whether you get into a jam on, let's just say Thanksgiving morning, maybe it's Christmas morning, 365, 24/7, they're there for you. And unlike some fine folks that do this kind of thing nationally, they're local, and that means when you're a trusted partner of Evolve IT, when you call, you send them an email, they're immediately going to have a human being call you back and get your business up and running. Evolve IT is ready to take your tech game to the next level. As I mentioned, network management, cybersecurity, and keeping business systems running smoothly. No fumbles, no downtime. Online at evolvebhm.com. That's evolvebhm.com, or call 205-749-8970 and make sure you tell them Landrum from Jock sent you.
Time to go to the Buyer's Right hotline. Barrett Sallee from Smothered and Covered, Sirius XM Radio, also a contributor to Outkick the Coverage, joins us here on Three Man Front. Barrett, I hope you're well on this Friday. I want to start by this question because we've been asking this question now for a couple of weeks, or actually since the Georgia game. What jumps out at you is the biggest issue that this Alabama football team currently has?
Discipline, right? 15 penalties against Tennessee. We saw what happened with Malachi Moore, kicking the football. Just little stuff like that. And I think it goes back. I think it bears out. With what Kalen said this week, that they're going to focus on the little things like getting to meetings on time. And I'm sitting there going, that traces back to everything that we've seen all year and the lack of discipline. It's sloppy. It's a sloppy program in every aspect. And that leads itself to very, very bad decision making on the field. And to me, it can go even beyond that, like what we saw with Willie Taggart at Florida State, and lead to a locker room that has 85 dudes going in 85 different directions. Not saying that's what is happening now. And, it might though, because whenever you have lack of discipline, you have lack of trust, and that can absolutely kill a locker room and send teams spiraling out of control.
Barrett, this Alabama team, do you believe that they can be a college football playoff team, or have you already seen enough to say no, not deserving?
I would say no, not deserving, based on the two losses and the way they played, right? It doesn't mean a 2-loss team is not out of it by, just a strict definition of, what we think would need to transpire to get into the playoff, right? But Alabama, that the way they look, and I think the fall from grace, so to speak, I don't think the committee members are going to look at Alabama and say that team's going to get in because of the Alabama name, because it doesn't look like any Crimson Tide team we've seen in the last 15 years, right? So because of that, I think this particular 10-2 team, if they were to win out, will have a hard case to make, because unless something changes, and there's nothing to suggest that they will, there are going to be a lot of games, a lot like that South Carolina game and other games that are super close. Even if the Tide wins, it's not going to be pretty.
So what can we really say about Texas so far? I mean, they went up to Ann Arbor. They beat a mediocre, a Michigan team that's not even going to be a top 25 team moving forward. They get beat by Illinois, couldn't even score more than a touchdown. So what does that really tell us? And they had problems with Mississippi State till the fourth quarter. And then Georgia pretty much embarrassed them at home. So where is this Texas team in regards to the pecking order in the SEC?
I'd still say they're right there with with everybody else outside of Georgia. But here's the thing too, like Texas didn't have a flaw, we hadn't seen one, right? We saw one against Georgia. That's the offensive line. And it just led to that disaster. The defense still played fine. Carson Beck was, again, a hot mess. Aside from finding the end zone, Trevor Etienne was just sort of a guy. I mean, I think he finished with 65 or 70 yards. That's kind of been where he's been all year, too. To me, it's just like they're just like everybody else, where, yeah, their upside's pretty darn high, but they have some issues that if they don't solve, they're capable of being beat by a lot of other teams, not just in the SEC, but around the country. And every other team in the country is like that. Like Ohio State has a loss. Oregon looked really bad the first two games of the season. At Penn State, what are they, right? We don't know what their upside is. Can they be an explosive offense? So to me, it wasn't necessarily indicative of Texas, being a fraud. It just was confirmation to I think, the world that there are no perfect teams this year, and Texas, despite looking like one against the lesser schedule, that maybe the lesser schedule hid a pretty big problem. But the thing is, it's only one problem, and a lot of other schools would wish they were in that position, because I mean, even Georgia has had issues. I didn't think it'd be Carson Beck, but even Georgia's had issues.
Barrett Sallee joining us from Outkick, also Smothered and Covered. All of our guests join us on the Buyers Right hotline. Big game coming up in College Station, Texas tomorrow night. It's the ABC primetime game. LSU taking on Texas A&M. Barrett, who has impressed you more to this point of the season? Has it been Brian Kelly and the Tigers, or has it been first-year coach Mike Elko and the Aggies?
Yeah, I mean, Brian Kelly and LSU, to me, they're sort of like that Clemson mode, right? They almost got written off in week one, and then slowly but surely, they kind of get their sea legs. They kind of figure out their identity, and now, defensively they're pretty solid. And then offensively, they found a little bit of rhythm at the running back spot, especially when Durham's healthy. And I think the offensive line, which did not look good against USC, is now kind of what we expected to see. Before the season started. So, LSU is trending in the right direction. Texas A&M, 2 weeks ago, or 2 games ago, I should say, when Wegman came back and looked phenomenal, it's my thought to myself, okay, this Texas A&M team's for real. And then we saw him last week against Mississippi State, and he just kind of was a guy, right? He just was all right, whatever. It's kind of Wegman, cool. That's not where they need to be if they want to go on to bigger and better things. So, I mean, LSU has very quietly become a very dangerous football team. I think we'll see that this weekend, and I think we'll see a lot of it moving forward too, because just as they gain confidence, which they have been throughout the course of the season, especially if they get a bye week to sort of recalibrate before playing an Alabama team that obviously has some issues, that team can be dangerous and become one that can win the playoff. I do think they can actually get in. I mean, I think at this point, I'd kind of be surprised if they didn't get in, because I do think the winner of this game is going to go to the SEC championship game.
All right, so when it's all said and done, a very early prediction about the CFP. How many SEC teams punched their ticket?
Ooh, I'd say 4. I'd say LSU, Georgia, which I think will be the SEC championship game. Tennessee and Ole Miss. I think those 4.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, it's fair. Ole Miss it's very interesting just considering they've
true.
got they still have Georgia left there, and it's just hard for me to imagine a 3-loss Ole Miss team.
I'm sorry, I didn't include Texas. Texas.
Okay.
Texas should be there.
All right.
Yeah, not Ole Miss, Texas.
That makes more sense. Your thoughts on Hugh Freeze, the Auburn Tigers, not being able to get over the hump thus far this season, albeit being in some very close games, 4 losses by a combined 27 points.
Are they the best 2-5 team in the country? I think that's fair to say.
I think according to Hugh Freeze, they are.
Can.
Yes. I think that's the way Hugh Freeze is.
I saw this stat. 27 offenses have gained at least 6.5 yards per play. 29 defenses allow less than 5 yards per play. Only 7 have done both. Army, undefeated. Indiana, undefeated. Ohio State, number 4. Ole Miss in the playoff race. Penn State, number 3. Texas, 1 loss, and Auburn.
Yeah, and I look at this differently. This is
unbelievable.
This is a stat. If I'm Hugh Freeze, I want this stat to go away. Yeah, I want to hide this stat.
Yeah, why is Hugh Freeze going around like begging people to look at the tweet? I didn't think Hugh Freeze had Twitter.
Did he? I didn't know that.
No, I just have it on very good authority that Hugh Freeze is bellowing that statistic out to anyone that will absolutely hear him.
Isn't that a pretty big indictment?
That's a problem. Yeah, that's an indictment. Like, why are you 2-5? Is it turnovers? Well, there's a way to prevent those to an extent, and that's coaching.
It is, and I think it's some situational stuff as well, Barrett. But a lot of people believing they get over the snide. I'm going to fade them until I see it.
I am too. That's exactly my mind.
Even against Kentucky, though, Barrett?
Even against Kentucky.
Even against Kentucky? Come on.
Even against Kentucky. Yes.
No way.
Yes, against Kentucky. Absolutely. Until further notice. Like, there's no reason to buy into that. Now, with that stat, there's a reasonable chance that Auburn will just out of nowhere go kill somebody. Just go to knock the crap out of somebody.
True.
But again, until I see it, I'm just not going to believe it.
They're saving that for Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt. Rematch. Revenge when they come to Jordan here.
Can you imagine if it's Alabama? Oh.
Just pump the brakes, Barrett.
Y'all would have content for years.
Oh, content and other things not to be mentioned on radio. Barrett Sallee, Outkick, also covered and smothered at Barrett Sallee on X. Barrett, we always appreciate the time, my friend. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, y'all too.
Barrett Sallee joining us. Whew. On the Buyers Right hotline for all your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
Termite, ant control, mosquitoes, those common house pests, and of course your foundation repair of a wet basement, animal removal and control. Since 1977, APS, they've helped the homeowner like myself solve the most challenging insect, pest, rodent, and foundation problems. From targeted pest control for termites, rodents, and more to prevention and protection, APS can help you today. Proudly serving Birmingham, Huntsville, and Montgomery. Schedule a free estimate by calling this number, 205-974-6876, or visit their website at alabamaprofessional.com.
Fridays are so much fun on this show. We have a treat for all of you great Jocks listeners. Our resident poet will chime in his latest, I don't know what you would call that, piece. We'll do it next. 3-Man Front and Jocks 94.5. That's right. Pat, did you ever wear bell bottoms?
No.
That was way before your time, right?
No. My older brother did.
He did?
Absolutely.
Butterfly collar?
Absolutely.
Did he have a gold chain?
Probably. 11:18 here on Jocks 94.5. 47 days after Tua's last concussion, it sounds like he is going to be on the field ready to go against the Arizona Cardinals. You pumped up, Conrad. You happy? Your guy. He's going to be pregame. He's going to be wearing his Perry Ellis. Then he's going to be there on the field wearing his 13, the Dolphins jersey. He is good to go.
Look at the color coming back to Conrad's cheeks.
He's fired up.
Yeah, he is.
I'm happy for him.
This is a big weekend for Conrad because first off, the Yankees and the Dodgers tonight. You got Alabama versus Mizzou, and then you've got Tua back.
I know.
This is a big weekend for
very, very big
Conrad.
for me. I needed this. Really needed this.
Needed this.
From daily exercisers and youth athletes to elite professionals, UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine treats everyone with the same level of exceptional care. With board-certified professionals, state-of-the-art imaging and injury prevention programs, their comprehensive team is here to keep you in the game. Visit uabmedicine.org/sports or call 205-930-8339 to make an appointment. UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine, knowledge moving medicine forward. Road to Recovery coming up with one of their great physicians at 12:45 here on the show.
Well, he told us earlier in the week that he was going to have to take some time. He was going to have to think about it, and he was going to have to put pen to paper. Crimson Convict now joins us on three-man front. Convict, how are you doing?
What's up? I'm good, brother. How are y'all been?
We're doing well, man. Pitt hit big last night, so I'm fired up. I'm happy.
Yeah, I had the other side.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. That and over 24.5 points for Minnesota.
Oh.
Yeah. But, you've been giving a lot of airtime to a certain Jocks listener here recently, and I just wanted to put something together for that certain niche fan base that always has something to say.
Are you talking about Don Don?
No, I'm not worried about Don Don.
I think he's talking about JK, also known as Bama Hater.
Oh, that's who it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's who it is. And this one is called the Miami Mirage. Salutations, college football family. Some of you probably rather not see me back. At least one fan base won't for sure, especially when you're forced to face the facts. I completely understand when it comes to my team, better judgment says my tongue should refrain. But this paper tiger needs some attention. The smoke and mirrors called the Miami Hurricanes. Every year we hear the same pontification. The 305 and the U are back, only to find at the end of the season, the train always manages to fall off the track. This first fact is fairly well known, but somehow you always find a reason to think this year is finally the year, even if the last 20 only has one 10-win season. There goes that Bammer living in the past. So I'll be fair and talk about this year and give you some more uncomfortable facts while you still have reason to fear. I know you don't control your weak conference, nor whether you control that they thrive, but to date or for the rest of the year, you won't play a single team in the top 25. Your first 4 games were complete domination, though you have to admit the competition was lean, outscoring them by a 168 margin against combined opponents that are only 11-16. Now let's look at the last 3 opponents. Certainly not conference powerhouses themselves, only 2 that are one game above 500 and winning by a combined margin of only +12. Vatek and Cal raised some eyebrows. Several calls you could say are oddities. ACC refs making questionable calls, protecting the ACC's best commodity. Let's say you do make the playoffs. Like I said, your schedule isn't your fault. Can you say you've been battle-tested when you finally play teams worth their salt? And one more point that needs explanation, something it seems you can't understand, the meaning of the Alabama standard and how you rise to a college football brand. It's over a century of championship football, having won at least one in every decade but 2, with numerous different head coaches like Wade, Bryant, Saban, just to name a few. You could also translate standard to tradition, and unlike many champions in the past, we may disappear for a moment only to reemerge as the team standing last. You know the meaning of standard when all the college football world, or so it would seem, has more to say about your program than they do about their own beloved team. I hope one person in particular is listening, and no disrespect to Bama hater. If you finally win another this year, then perhaps maybe we can talk later. Because if college football history were a mansion, you would be lucky to be considered the garage. As of now, your college football's trick of the eye, affectionately known as the Miami Mirage.
Wow.
Great stuff.
I know you're a humble guy, but Robert Frost couldn't hold your jockstrap.
I don't know. I'm more of an Edgar Allan Poe guy.
The Raven.
And since we are in that, I know, man. I know. But listen, I'll be at the game on Saturday, boys. So I'll try to give you a bird's eye view. Are any of y'all going to the Alabama game?
Molly will be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's Molly going to be?
I'll find out. She's not in here in the studio right now, but yeah, I'll absolutely find out. So yeah, but she will be there.
All right, man. 10-4. Well, listen, have a great Friday and a great weekend, and I'll holler at y'all next week.
Crimson Convict, thank you, brother. You as well.
All right, my friend.
We'll see you.
Great stuff, man.
And how he tied in all those records
and how he provided music to Conrad before he called. He said, "Hey, please make sure you play this bed." That was perfect.
It really was.
Very well done. I love the production element.
That's so good. Oh, we have a lot of your texts coming in. Very interesting text that we will get to. It is a Football Friday, 3-man front. We are America's home for college football, guys. Jocks 94.5.
Well, the Cowboys had a bye week, but their quarterback, Dak Prescott, coming off that huge new contract with Jerry Jones, he got engaged during the bye week.
Congratulations, Dak.
That's right. He says he's super excited. I've known it for a while. I got the ring a few months ago. She had no idea. She's a big golfer, thought we were going golfing. I told her we had a lifetime of golf. I had the ring to fake off the golf.
Love it.
Good. I hope he starts scoring more fantasy points.
That's all you care about. It's all about you.
All about the bottom line.
It is all about you.
But if you find a soulmate that enjoys doing things like, for me, my wife, she enjoys playing golf. That's something we can do together. That is definitely a payoff. It's awesome.
Yes.
Unless you want to go to the golf course by yourself. And then sometimes you just, anyways. Happy Friday, everybody. You hear that? That's from our friends at Mystic Beverage. That is the Lift Blend. It features CBD, CBG, Delta 9, 5-HTP, and the green coffee bean extract. It boosts both body and mind. Whether you're looking to stay focused like I do with the Lift, and this is the Southern Berry flavor, or you want to relax, socialize, they got all kinds of different products from our friends at Mystic Beverage, the Nirvanic, the High Hills Delta 9, the Broadway. They also have an alcohol alternative as well. Check them out, made in Blount County, Alabama. MysticBeverage.com. They are available at your local Piggly Wiggly, but once again, it's the Lift Blend that I go with. It's absolutely delicious. Keep you staying focused during the long work day or on the weekends as well. MysticBeverage.com.
So for the first time since 1982, the Pitt Panthers find themselves 7-0 on the season. Big win last night, 41-13 over the Syracuse Orange. They had 3 pick sixes. They intercepted Kyle McCord, the quarterback for Syracuse, 5 times. So how about that? The Pitt Panthers now find themselves 7-0. They will keep climbing that top 25.
Somebody needs to send that to Peyton Thorne and go, look, it can always be worse, right?
Always can be.
Don't beat yourself up about what happened earlier in the season. It can always be worse. But no, that's impressive. Even though I have disdain for Pat Narduzzi, for them to do what they have done has been really remarkable. I didn't think they'd be at this point, but their schedule is going to get tougher.
Well, you and I did not vote in the ACC preseason media poll.
No.
But those that did picked them 13th. 1-3. In the preseason ACC poll. They got big games coming up. November 2nd against SMU. November 16th, they will host the Clemson Tigers. Old Dominion wins last night, 41-19. Let's talk about tonight's games, I should say. So you got Louisville 4-3. They're taking on Boston College. That is Wimp Sanderson's blue plate. He likes Louisville in the 7.5 points. That's a 6:30 kickoff. Both teams saw some time in the rankings this season, but both have bottomed out as of late. There's not much on the line in the ACC race when these two get together, but bowl eligibility will be a lot more attainable for the winner of this game between the two. So Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts will be the site tonight between those two. This one's the big one. Number 17, Boise State taking on UNLV. That is a 9:30 kickoff on the CBS Sports Network. It's Friday's best game, features 2 of the 4 teams tied atop the Mountain West. Take a look at the Mountain West standings. You've got 4 teams right there sitting near the top. This one should be a high-scoring affair. It's got high stakes written all over it, as the winner will be on the lead position for the G5 college football playoff bid. Some are saying that this is the biggest game in the history of the G5. I'm not saying that, but there are some people.
Well, based on what's at stake, if we're talking about that at large or the highest ranked G5 team in Boise State, they control their own destiny. I like the Broncos minus the 2.5 tonight.
Yeah, I
got them at 2.5.
Ashton Genty, he's got 1,200 rushing yards this season, the second most through a team's first 6 games of a season in the last 20 years. He also has 17 rushing touchdowns under his belt already. Genty is currently on pace to break Barry Sanders' records for most rushing yards before the Heisman voting deadline, which is December 4th. Now, keep in mind, Sanders set both of his main records through 11 games, where Genty will have an additional game.
And Boise State, their only loss was what, by a field goal to Oregon?
To Oregon.
Yeah, that'll be a tough matchup. That'll be really entertaining and be fun to watch when we get home from our high school games.
Yes, and if that one wasn't good enough for you, you can tune in at 10 o'clock. This is a 10 o'clock kickoff for Rutgers and USC. Now, if the World Series is not over in time, because this is a Fox television game, this isn't an FS1, this is Fox Major TV. If the World Series is not over in time, the football game is going to start over on FS1 and then on the 2 Fox-owned local stations, which is there in New York and in Los Angeles. Fox's primary channel would resume the football game in progress at the conclusion of the baseball broadcast. Now, the idea of this late kickoff for the East Coast fan, what they're trying to do, they're trying to maintain the 10-plus million baseball fans they believe will be tuned in tonight for Game 1 of the World Series between the Yankees and Dodgers. Now, so far this season, the Friday night Big Ten package has drawn an average of 2.8 million viewers. That's strong.
Yeah, it is.
Very strong. Now, the Trojans have lost 4 of their past 5. This has been an incredibly rough season so far for them as they entered into the Big Ten. They're 3-4 on the year, despite holding a fourth quarter lead in all 7 games. Every single game, Lincoln Riley's Trojans, they have led. There have been about 250 FBS teams over the last 20 seasons to hold a fourth quarter lead in each of its first 7 games of the season. USC is only the second of those teams to have a losing record. Isn't that amazing? 250 teams? And USC and Utah State from 2011 are the only 2 teams that have lost that many games by leading in 7 games in the fourth quarter. In addition, the Trojans are one of 17 teams to have a fourth quarter lead in every game this season. The other 16 teams, Landrum, that have had the lead, they have a record of 98-8.
Wow.
So this has not gone as planned for Lincoln Riley and his USC Trojans. So you can watch that tonight after the World Series. Kickoff is at 10 o'clock. That is 11 o'clock in Piscataway, New Jersey.
Text line is open, 205-834-9450. We take you there now. Ken has texted in and says Alabama's going to cover 20 points easily. Mizzou without Cook at full speed will be an easy cover for Bama by halftime. Drink should be fired for not taking advantage of Luther Burden and the receiving corps. Well, if you watched the game last week versus Auburn, they tried to go to him a good bit. It's just, for whatever reason, that's just been weird.
Yeah. I like his confidence in Alabama, though.
Do you like the first half spread, Bama minus 10?
No.
You don't like anything about this game, do you? You're going to forget it during
No, I'm going to play it. I feel very good about the side I'm going to take.
Tim is asking, what do we think about BYU at Central Florida? I'm going to ride BYU.
Yeah, UCF now with a freshman quarterback. They've been reeling really bad lately. Came up just short last week against Iowa State. Yeah.
And I'll slap myself on the hand if I lose, but I'm not. I cannot bet on this UCF team. I don't care where the game's played.
By the way, have you seen where the Auburn line has gone to?
What is it now?
1.5.
Interesting. So a lot of money going on Auburn. Speaking of Auburn, this one reads, if Auburn doesn't turn the ball over, despite Kentucky's current problems, AU will make them look like world beaters. I don't think you're the only one that has that sentiment. Thanks for listening. Luke says he agrees with optimistic Auburn fan Anthony. I don't think Auburn has run a successful 2-minute offense at the end of either half this season. O-line can't protect when we have to pass. Thank you, Luke. Mark says he likes Boston College plus the 7.5. Easy money there in Chestnut Hill.
Okay.
Somebody asking if Kane Womack leaves for the Southern Miss job. What about Bo Davis?
So let me ask you this question. So do you think that the South Alabama football program is better than Southern Miss?
Yes. I do.
Granted, we all obviously believe that the Alabama coordinator's position is a better job than the South Alabama job.
But
as a head coach.
No disrespect to Southern Miss, but no. Now, maybe at one time when Bowers was there, you could have made that argument.
True story. Kirby Smart, when he was defensive coordinator at Alabama, was rumored for the Southern Miss job, and they pretty much didn't give Kirby the time of day.
And even Larry Fedora with the success that he was able to have. But since then, if I'm thinking about the coaches, whether it was Ellis Johnson, and that was dreadful when he went and took over that program.
Ellis Johnson didn't win a game.
The Hobson guy who was a scumbag when he was in charge of that program, and then up until now, and I thought that Will Hall was going to get it done, but that program has dropped off the map significantly. And I do remember, because I'm old enough to remember those Southern Miss teams, like a lot of you, that you didn't want to see rolling into your stadium on a given Saturday, especially in the 80s and the 90s. But they've fallen on some hard times. Yes, I would say facilities-wise, the infusion into the South Alabama program, they both have pretty fertile recruiting bases. But, no, I would put that South Alabama job above Southern Miss. Would you?
Absolutely. Yeah. But my point being is that I don't think Kane Womack would leave the University of Alabama unless.
Well, why would you leave a group of 5 job to get a coordinator job and then leave the next year?
Go back to another group of 5 because
it's worse.
Unless there was some kind of internal strife there. He couldn't get along with somebody at South Alabama and needed a parachute, but that didn't strike me at all. This was a $2 million gig and a chance to go and coach with a friend and a guy that he respects in Kalen DeBoer.
Now, there are plenty of rumors out there in regards to, just like when Lane Kiffin threw that out there, that T-Rob was calling all the defensive plays as opposed to what was going on with Kevin Steele last year. There has been talk that perhaps a certain special assistant to Kalen DeBoer, who is the co-defensive coordinator at Washington last year, has been a little bit more active around this Alabama defense over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Because the defense was pretty good last year at Washington?
No, it was not.
Oh, that's right.
No, it was not. But it's someone that has coached with...
I know.
With Kalen DeBoer for a long time. So I'm just saying.
I'm just being sour today.
You shouldn't be.
I'm going to be sour because, and we had a text asking me about it. We got Braves fans asking me because they hate the Yankees as much as we despise the Dodgers. Can't stand the Yankees.
How can you hate the Yankees more than the Dodgers right now?
It's a National League thing.
It's a National League thing, number one.
And Freddie Freeman and his teeth.
But you hate him.
No, I don't hate him.
He doesn't like his teeth.
I don't hate the individuals on the team. I just hate the brand.
He doesn't like what they stand for.
But the Yankees breaking my heart, my young tender heart as a Braves fan. Back when it counted, the World Series. No, so go Dodgers tonight. Go Big Blue, whatever they say out there.
Is that what they say?
You and Greg going to watch the game together?
Where did the Dodgers name come from?
It comes from the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Yep.
It comes from the fact that most of their fans had to dodge
street trolleys.
Street trolleys in Brooklyn. And so they called them originally the Trolley Dodgers, but then it shortened to Dodgers.
That's actually very cool. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I know and that's why I brought it up. I knew Pat knew it.
You know why the Mets are blue and orange?
I don't know.
To pay homage to the two teams that left New York, the Giants and the Dodgers.
I thought you were going to say the owner was a big Auburn fan, but.
No. He was not.
No. Not of that franchise.
The more you know.
That is correct. Where's the sharp money going in Vegas? And a free pick that is undefeated on the air this season. JR joins us next. 3-Man Front, Jocks 94.5. 11:46, we roll on here on this Football Friday three-man front. Lands from Pat, Conrad, and Molly. If I've had one person text me, I've had 1 million people text me. And a lot of you texting on the Jocks text line asking about JR. And the reason why is because JR, all he is doing is winning. He's giving free picks on the air. He is undefeated here on the air on Fridays with his free picks. And it's takingvegas.com. And he joins us now. JR, happy Football Friday.
Happy Football Friday, Landrum, and it's an absolute pleasure to be on with everybody down there with WJOX in Alabama. Guys, I could not be more excited. I've got my SEC Game of the Year going off. This one's going to be LSU taking on Texas A&M, and I'm going to give it out for free. All you got to do, just text the word WIN to 545454. Get the winner absolutely free. Again, the point spread winner. My SEC Game of the Year, LSU taking on Texas A&M. It's absolutely free via text message. Just text the word WIN to 545454. That's WIN to 545454.
JR, I don't want to screw anything up, but this 8-game winning streak that you have with your free picks here weekly on the air, they're absolutely on fire. Are you superstitious? Are you doing anything just repetitively to make sure that this streak stays alive?
My wife wants to know if I'm ever going to change my underwear.
Oh.
But, no, I'm kidding. Not even a little bit superstitious. When it comes down to it, frankly, you can't have superstition if you want to win because it just takes one thing to go wrong and you start blaming that. Or, I got to keep my left turn signal on the whole way to the office today. Otherwise, I'm not going to win. We don't have that. We've got the best staff in the business. I had one of the other guys that interviewed me down in Louisiana say, you guys get the inside, and no, we don't. We're just really good at what we do. We have the best breakdown information in the business. We've got the guys that understand it. And now with the NIL, let's face it, most people, if you don't understand what's going on, where all of these kids, every one of them is a free agent, you're going to be lost in college sports. We've got the guys that know where they came from, know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. We've been able to take advantage of college football like never before this season. Plus, the NFL has been insanely good. And I mean, I don't even want to tell you the percentage because it just doesn't sound believable. But we have been insanely good all season long. Now, here's the thing. You and I have been doing this interview for probably 11, 12 years now. I think our worst record on air was like 78%. We've always had a phenomenal record. So guys that are listening who have not made the call, what are you really waiting for? I mean, if you like donating to the books, then I understand. You like giving your money to them, hey, who am I to argue? But if you like winning and you want somebody that not only can win, but knows how to manage your bankroll so you see real growth and you don't make mistakes betting when you're losing too much. That negative progression destroys sports bettors. You want someone who knows what they're doing, get involved. Starts off with the big SEC winner, absolutely free SEC Game of the Year. Again, this one, Texas A&M taking on LSU. It is absolutely free. It is via text message. And you'll also get a shot at the bonus game if you want it, and that's going to be the Alabama-Mizzou game. That line is very high, but I'll let you know whether or not Alabama wins or covers that game. Text WIN to 545454. That's WIN to 545454.
And JR, something you stress for folks that are just now tuning in, because it is amazing. Everybody wants to know your information. I get texts from buddies over the weekend. Hey, tell me about JR. What was I might have missed his pick on Friday. What was his pick? They're on board because you winning by giving these free picks on the air, you're saying this is just a small sample of what you're going to get with our service and our picks. Tell our listeners about money management, though. That is so vital, and that is something that you preach each and every week.
It is. And you know what? I give the free game so that guys feel comfortable knowing that when they contact us, at least they're dealing with somebody that has a sense of what's going on and knows how to win, right? So, I mean, do I expect to always be undefeated on the air? Of course not. And I'm not going to sit here and tell guys that we don't lose games. Games lose. We win a lot more than we lose, but games are going to lose inevitably. You are betting on sports. You are gambling. But It's proper management that's going to get you from that, $2,500 or that $5,000 bankroll up to $10 or $20 or $50,000. We do it every, I don't want to say every week, but we're doing it every month, every season, time and time again. If you listen to the radio show that runs on the weekends, the 1-hour show, you hear testimonials of people that have been involved with us or just got involved and have seen that difference in the management as opposed to just being able to win. If I was going and just shooting you the games, and even on a record of 7-3, I would have guys contact me and tell me that they lost too much on the losers and didn't make enough on the winners. So that's where we come in and we actually help you and draw out a strategy that makes sense based on your bankroll, your situation. It's all customized because everyone is different. So we're going to customize it. We're going to tell you when you should up and when you should pull back. Most of the time, when I'm dealing with somebody brand new, I will normally give them, instead of making knee-jerk reactions and doubling up after one winner, we don't do that. We want to have, let's say, 5 games before we make a decision. All right, based on the record, if you go 5-0, we're going to double up. If we go 4-1, we're going to add 50% to the next 5 games. If we only go 3-2, we may only add 20%, but we're going to add something to the next 5 games. If we lose 2 games in a row or we find ourselves down 2 units, cut your bet by 1/3. If you're down 3 units, cut it in half. You got to make back those units before you go back to a full unit. I mean, I know it's only a 5-minute interview, only so much I can say and only so fast that my lips can move, but there's a lot that goes into it, not just, hey, get XYZ in tonight -3, see you later. We actually sit down and we make a game plan. It's up to you to execute, but we're there to strategize with you and give you that game plan that makes sense, that you can follow. And, at the end of the day, if you follow it, it's going to make you a ton of money.
All right, JR, without further ado, I feel like we need a drum roll, but you try to keep the streak alive here on air with your free pick. I know you're going into the NFL.
Trying. We're doing it, baby.
Let's do it. Who you got this week?
And by the way, thank you for the text over the weekend. That was really cool. Like hearing from guys, especially after the games come in and do what they're supposed to do. It was really
you're appreciated. I wanted you to know that.
Well, we've got something that should be as easy as pie this weekend in the NFL. 4:00 Eastern. That's going to be 3:05 your time. You got the Bills taking on the Seahawks. This is about as easy as they come. The line on the total in this game is 46.5. The Bills' rushing attack has been outstanding, causing Josh Allen not to make a lot of mistakes offensively. This Seattle team has thrown the ball over 300 times this year. Number 1 in the league for throwing as far as the amount of attempts. All they do is try to move the ball and put up points. The Bills' defense has not been able to shut down any good offenses. This is going to be back and forth all day. This is going to be like last night, but it's going to be not just the first quarter that you see touchdown. It's going to be 1 through 4. I'm expecting 60-plus points in this game. Total on the matchup right now is 46.5. Get in the over, and don't wait, guys, because by game time, that's going to be 47.5, maybe even 48. I'm expecting it to go way, way over, but I would lock it in now. Go over 46.5, Bills, Seahawks. Now, again, let's make some real money. I've got my SEC game of the year, LSU taking on Texas A&M. It's absolutely free. Plus, you get the bonus game, which is going to be Alabama-Mizzou. Text the word WIN to 545454. Just text the word WIN to 545454 and get that SEC game of the year absolutely free. Plus the bonus game, guys, Alabama-Mizzou. Text WIN to 545454. Check us out at takingvegas.com. And as always, Landrum, everyone in Alabama, guys, be safe, have fun, and go out there and make some money.
JR, thank you, my friend. Talk to you next Friday.
My pleasure, Landrum. Thanks.
JR, takingvegas.com. Once again, text the word WIN to 545454. He's got LSU at Texas A&M as SEC game of the year. And your bonus play, Bama and Missouri. And once again, his free pick on the air, which is absolutely on fire. The over in the Bills-Seahawks game, thinks it's going to be high scoring. He said 60-plus points, a back-and-forth affair. We always appreciate JR. All of our guests join us on the Buyers Right hotline for all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner. And Conrad, you can attest, you have certainly been taking note of what JR has been doing. And he has helped us out tremendously.
Yeah, the office football pool is nice because I only have to make 19 picks every week because that one's pretty much set in stone every single week. So no, he has been great, and Yeah, I mean, the results speak for themselves, right? If you've been listening to this show on Fridays for the last 2 months, you know.
Yep, you do. Some text coming in. We do have Mike Rodak coming up to talk Alabama and Missouri. We'll see who Mike likes for the game coming up to Tuscaloosa tomorrow afternoon. But Pat B on the World Series says he can't cheer for an American League team until all the players. This is just a bad time for the circle of death to be happening on the computer.
Can't root for American League. Okay.
No, we just need to know that everybody's against the Yankees.
And that's fine.
It's actually a surprising number of Yankee fans here in Birmingham. I'm bold with one of them. Big Yankees fan.
FSU Dave, big Yankees fan.
FSU Dave, big Yankees fan.
It's an exclusive club.
That's right. We continue here on this Football Friday. 3-man front. Keep the text rolling in. I'll refresh the computer screen. Mike Rodak, Bama 247, talking Tide and Tigers next.
It's time to recap what's trending with the 3-man front. Lunch Hour Reset.
Well, welcome back into this filthy Football Friday. We always love Fridays here at 3-Man Front. Coming up in just a few minutes, we will hear from Mike Rodak, get his preview on Alabama taking on Missouri this weekend. At 12:30, we will have Bet It or Forget It. Can the crew bounce back, and will we have another chaotic weekend of college football? We'll have to wait and see. And at 1 o'clock, we will hear from Kyle Parmalee with Starnes Media to get a preview into all of the high school football action going on tonight. If you missed any of our guests or any of our prior segments, check out our podcast wherever you get them. And we love getting your predictions on Fridays. So with our Twitter poll question, we asked, what is your bold prediction for tomorrow? Is it Auburn getting their first SEC win? Vanderbilt will scare Texas. Bama struggles, but they will win. Or the Milkmen will prevail over LSU. And right now winning with 35% of our voters saying Auburn will get their first SEC win this weekend. 30.5 saying Vanderbilt will scare Texas. 22.6 Bama will struggle but will win. And 11.9 saying the Milkmen will prevail.
Thank you, Molly. I'm super excited about this weekend. Number one, I get a rare Saturday off with the bye week of the UAB Blazers, and I'm going to be cruising around in the Ford Bronco, the Dobbs Ford edition of the Bronco, from our friends at Dobbs Ford right there on Parkway East. Rachel and Joey, just wonderful people, the managing partners there, but the entire staff, they're just great people, and they reflect the values of not only the Goshens, but everyone there at Dobbs Ford. Whether it's the Bronco, and I posted it on social media, and maybe you'll see me driving around town in it. It is absolutely loaded out. This is something that I told the guys here, I wish I could take this thing off-roading. It just looks like it would be so much fun, but it's a dream to drive. You've got the hatchback, the canopy top that you can pull down. Going to do that because we have nice weather this weekend. But it's not only the Broncos, it's the Explorers, the F-150s, the Mustangs. Check out the entire fleet. Alabama's largest showroom selection you're going to find. Go see and feel the difference there at Dobbs Ford, dobbsfordbirmingham.com. And make sure when you do, you tell them Landrum from 3-Man Front and Jocks 94.5 sent you.
Joining us on the Buyer's Right hotline from Bama 247, Mike Rodak joins us, covers the Alabama Crimson Tide. Mike, I want to take you back to last Saturday at Neyland Stadium. Before all the other things took place, from the undisciplined penalties and all the other incidences that took place in the second half for Alabama, what was your overall impressions of the Alabama game plan on what they were trying to do, at least offensively, against Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seemed like throwing the ball was the priority out of the gate. I mean, it wasn't, they didn't really try to establish the run really until that first drive of the second half, when they ran it however many straight times it was on that drive. But, you know, it's probably a case of we don't think we can really run against this defensive front. Tennessee came in with really the best defense in the country in terms of, you know, some of the efficiency stats. And maybe they thought that their best chance was to get the ball on the outside to Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard and have them win those matchups. And that's my sense of the game plan. And to some extent, I mean, that worked in the first half. They were winning. You know, they had the big play over the middle of the Jeremy. You're getting some throws to Ryan, even if all of them weren't necessarily hitting. I don't know if the game plan was wrong. I know people want them to establish the run and run Jam Miller 3 times in a row and run Justice Haynes 3 times in a row. Like, they're not that great of a running team. It just isn't good enough to sustain it. Even that drive, they weren't able to sustain that. So you run it on first down and you get 1 yard, or you go backwards 2 yards, and then you're on 2nd and 12. Like, you're not running the ball again. So that's kind of why they can't keep running the ball. And I don't know if throwing it as much as they did was necessarily the problem.
Mike Rodak joining us. All of our guests joining us on the Buyer's Right hotline. You had a player, was it CJ Dupree, that came out earlier in some of his comments in saying that kind of buttoning things up, whether it's untucked shirts, being to meetings on time, attention to details. And then Kalen DeBoer comes back and he doesn't entirely contradict that, but says these are things that we've been doing all this while. What do you make of those comments, Mike, and anything that you might have noticed in covering the program?
Yeah, I mean, I was there when CJ said it. I asked a question about Jeremy Bernard was talking about some of the small things, and being on time for meetings was one of the specific things that he mentioned as something that they were trying to do better this week. And then so I wanted and asked CJ Dupree about that. And that was the answer he gave. He specifically said none of this late stuff, you know, not wearing what you want to wear, but tucking in your shirt and doing things, you know, the right way. So I don't think that would come up if it was not an issue. It just doesn't logically make sense to me. You know, why would this be a point of discussion this week? You know, why would players be talking about none of this late stuff, in the words of CJ Dupree, if it wasn't something that, you know, was on their radar as something that needed to be corrected? So, I kind of get where Kalen DeBoer is coming from. You know, he had that kind of brief line during the radio show that I think you're referencing about, you know, these things are already points of emphasis. I think he said the strain is greater when you're in the spot that they're in, and it kind of wakes players up. Not his words, but my words, and just kind of paraphrasing him there. So, it's semantics at the end of the day, but obviously there's a reason why this is all being emphasized. And I think the translation that they want is for that discipline off the field to turn into discipline on the field. And this is, to me, their solution of trying to deal with the penalty issue they have, and just the perception that this team is undisciplined.
Talking to Mike Rodak, covers Alabama for Bama 247, joins us here on Three Man Front. So there's been questions all week about Jalen Milroe's health. Kalen DeBoer said, obviously everybody's banged up at this time of the year, but there's no limitations that would keep him from contributing to the team trying to get a win. I continue to hear this week, Mike, and you can tell me I'm crazy or there's a little bit to it, that I believe that Ty Simpson has gotten a little bit more work this week, and there might be a shorter leash on the quarterback at the University of Alabama if things don't go well tomorrow.
Yeah, it's hard to say exactly because you don't know how the game will unfold. But, I mean, I think we're certainly closer in general to seeing Ty Simpson than we were a week ago, and probably closer than we were 2 weeks ago, even beyond that. So, you never quite know because Jalen Milroe comes out, throws for 3 touchdowns in the first half or runs for 3 touchdowns. Like it's not going to be on the radar. It won't be on the radar until, potentially if you have to take a loss to LSU. I still think Jalen Milroe gives them the best chance to win because of that upside, because of that potential. Even with nicks and bruises, I think is kind of the category I put it in with Jalen. I don't think it's anything more than what any other player is probably dealing with at this time of the year. I think there's nothing Alabama would lose if there was something legitimate, significant, injured about him, to just put him on the injury report as probable and kind of send that signal to everybody. And the fact that they aren't doing that, I think, is telling as well. So, again, nothing that's really going to hold him back. That's been the message. And I still think that your best chance of winning is with Jalen Milroe for right now. But if you get in a situation where you have 3 losses, you take 1 more loss, then I think the best thing for this team is for Ty Simpson to play, because then you're looking at 2025. And whether you lose another game and you go to the Las Vegas Bowl instead of the Citrus Bowl, I don't know if anybody really cares about that. At the same time, like, if you're Kalen DeBoer, I don't think you want to keep losing games here because that's only going to turn the thermostat up on you for next year.
Mike, offense or defensive side of the ball, for this weekend specifically, what do you either hope to see or think that we will see be emphasized maybe more than prior weeks?
Yeah, you're talking about defense? I missed the first part.
Either side of the ball that you want to go.
Either side of the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just playing clean, I think, has to be the emphasis. I think cutting down on the penalties, cutting down on the turnovers has to be the emphasis. Because that is what is really making people mad more than anything else. Because look, like, you go to Tennessee, you take a 7-point loss to Tennessee. If you told me that in August that would happen, I would say, yeah, it's kind of expected. Like, I don't think that would really be too far off the beaten path of what we would have thought for this team. But it's the way that it goes down. You have the bad penalty at the end. You turn the ball over in the red zone. Like, the things that led to that result, I think, are what frustrate people more. Just losing to Tennessee with this team is not the end of the world in and of itself. It's the way you lost, the way that you played against South Carolina. The fact that you did lose to Vanderbilt certainly was, the result. But it's just playing clean football. And I think if they can do that, even if you're not the most talented Alabama team to ever take the field, I think people will be a little bit happier with you. Just have a game with 3 or 4 penalties. Have a game without a turnover. Just don't do the dumb things that are really making people mad right now.
Mike, you've been close to this football team for a number of years, and obviously now there's a little bit more openness by being able to talk to these coordinators, be around the football team in a more intimate way than what you were when Nick Saban was the head coach. Do you sense these guys playing tight now in regards to a coaching staff? Do you feel like that you're sensing that these people understand that this is the University of Alabama, not the University of Washington?
To some extent. I mean, obviously the staff gets drawn from different places. So there's only so many staff members that are even from Washington, because you have Shepard, you have Sheridan, you have Chuck Morrell, who's basically the inside linebackers coach, but we don't talk to him. Other than that, your staff is from all different places. Kapilovic came from Michigan State, and Hitchler from Wisconsin, and Linguist from Buffalo, and Christian Robinson came from Baylor. Like you're really drawing from different places, and they all have different experiences. So I don't know if you can say anything across the board, but yeah, I think you get the sense that like this is Alabama. There's a lot of pressure on them, and we're in a situation where if you lose another game or two, fans are going to want changes on the staff. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of doubt that there's going to be pressure on Kalen DeBoer to change some things up if they finish 8-4 or 9-3 even. So, yeah, I do think it's that point in the year, and they need to step up and perform.
In regards to this staff, I know it's way too early, but I know that there's already been some coaching carousel rumors and innuendos about maybe Kane Womack would be interested potentially, maybe not from him, but other schools would be interested in maybe group of 5 jobs that are coming open as we speak. Do you sense that this is going to be kind of a Nick Saban-esque turnover once this season ends from this staff, or you think it's just going to be, okay, let's try to get a little bit of consistency and keep these guys around for year 2?
I lean towards the latter, but at the same time, I think, like I just said, I think Kalen DeBoer is going to be under some level of pressure just from the outside to not just say we're going to run it back next year and year 2 is going to be better than year 1 by default. And if you're Kane, then maybe there is a decision to make if you do get in a position where you are offered a job like Southern Miss or whatever else might come open. The Arkansas State job kind of interests me in that regard, because I don't know if Butch Jones is going to be there, long term, and he has ties to Arkansas. You have Jeff Purinton, who has ties to Alabama. So that would be one that would interest me. Arkansas State is not having a terrible year though, so we'll see if it comes open. But if you're Kane, do you stay at Alabama and kind of keep being the punching bag, or do you go back to being a head coach somewhere else and maybe live a little bit more comfortable life for a few years and kind of be out of the spotlight? I don't know what his personal desires are. I don't know if it's even something on his mind right now, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a situation where Kalen DeBoer is going to try to keep this together and keep some continuity for next year. But like I said, I think there's going to be some outside pressure to change that.
Mike, before we let you go, you've done a great job as always covering the Tide, but you put your predictions down on your website. Last week, you predicted Tennessee to beat Alabama, which they did. This week, tell our audience who you like and why.
Yeah, I have Alabama winning. I think I put 35-14. I think it's Missouri coming in with as bad of an injury situation as they have, a backup quarterback, backup running back. It's going to be tough for them to win, just based on that to begin with. And I think maybe we'll see a more motivated Alabama team and a Alabama team that plays cleaner with their backs against the wall, et cetera. But it's kind of like that South Carolina game 2 weeks ago, where I think I said coming into that, it's not a no-lose situation, but even if they play really well, I don't know if it would give me a ton of confidence in terms of what they do going to LSU. If they play poorly, it's only going to hinder that confidence. And if they lose, then, I mean, you're going to LSU just kind of playing out the string. So the ceiling for how good I would feel coming out of this game is not as high as other games would be.
I like your final line of your prediction column where you said, if Alabama does not respond to its second loss by burying a limping Missouri team, I don't know what else to say.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
you just pretty much crystallized a lot of Alabama fans out there. I mean, you just don't kind of throw your hands up and just don't know what else to say. Let's say they get past Mizzou. Let's give them that. Let's say that they take care of the Tigers tomorrow. Then they've got LSU. Does Alabama, in your opinion, where things stand right now in the SEC and the pecking order of college football, can Alabama afford another loss? Could they go to LSU and lose and still be in the conversation if they win the other remaining games on their schedule? Or is this they've got to win out to get into the CFP?
Absolutely have to win out. I think they would be in a really tough spot to make the playoff. It's not just the record, it's also perception. People who have watched this team the last month, the committee in particular, don't see a playoff team. And you take another loss, I don't know if that is something you can recover from. So, yeah, I mean, even if you win out, I don't know if it's a guarantee. I think you're in a very good spot to make the playoff, but this is the first year of it. Like, we have never been through this process before. We don't know how the committee would rank an 11-1 Indiana team that lost close to Ohio State, theoretically, versus a 2-loss Alabama team. We just don't know, like, how they are going to stack those teams. And, you're at 15 right now in both polls, so you have some ground to make up, and we'll see if they can do it.
He is Mike Rodak, covers the Alabama Crimson Tide, a part of Bama 247 at Mike Rodak there on X. Mike, we always appreciate the time. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you next Friday.
You got it. Thank you.
Mike Rodak joining us, as all of our guests do, on the Buyers Right Hotline. For all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs, it's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
When it comes to plumbing, always have a pro on standby. That's Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They're family-owned and operated. They handle everything from faucet repairs, water heater maintenance, commercial plumbing, sewer line repairs, and so much more. One call does it all. Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, 205-516-4927, or go to their website, ironmountainworld.com.
We continue with this Football Friday. Your phone calls, your text, welcome as well. Three-Man Front and Jocks, 94.5.
Always appreciate Mike Rodak from Bama 247 joining us every Friday here on Three Man Front. His other Bama 247 writers, Alex Scarborough, he's got Bama winning 27-10. You heard Rodak's prediction, which was 35-14. Cody Goodwin has Bama 24-10. Brett Greenberg, recruiting reporter there for Bama 247. He's got Bama winning 30-22. Kirk McNair, longtime writer there at Bama 247. He's got the Tide winning 31-21. So those are your scores, courtesy of Bama 247.
Well, tomorrow I have a full day of football. Don't have to work. Going to just enjoy it as a college football fan. I'm heading into Rambler Sports Bar and Grill there at the Finnick, downtown, 1630 2nd Avenue South near Railroad Park. I tell you about the Finnick. I got to tour before they officially opened it, but it's amazing from the video boards, the projection screens, the optimum sound quality you're going to get. It's going to be a sports bar viewing experience like you've never experienced before. Whether it is lunch today, and they're open Wednesday lunch through Sunday night football, whether it's games tonight, the World Series, college football, or tomorrow, full slate of NFL games or college games, NFL on Sunday. They got Red Zone, Sunday Ticket, all of that and more. And you got to check out the menu that they have. I've already got my sights set on the Conecuh corn dogs, also the wonderful charcuterie board. I'm going to do it up tomorrow. You can as well. It's Rambler Sports Bar and Grill there at the Finnick, 1630 2nd Avenue South, next to Railroad Park. Come in tomorrow for the early games, and maybe I'll see you there.
This is the first time since 2007 that every SEC team lost a game before the end of October. First time since 2007. Now, the ESPN playoff predictor still expects the conference to send at least 4 teams to the college football playoff, but the Big Ten is slowly catching up in the race to dominate the field. As of right now, according to ESPN, the SEC has a 99.9% chance of getting 2 or more teams in the Big Dance. The Big Ten, 98%. 3 or more, that percentage falls down to 95% for the SEC, 80% for the Big Ten. 4 or more, which we have been pretty solid throughout, even before Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, we always said, basically, we think it'll be 4. That was kind of our general feeling here on three-man front. According to ESPN, as of this moment, the SEC has a 68% chance of getting 4 or more teams in the playoff. The Big Ten, that continues to rise. It's now up to 31% for the Big Ten. And 5 or more teams, the SEC has the best chance of any conference in all of football at 23%. The Big Ten only has a 1% chance of getting 5 or more teams in. And matter of fact, the ACC and the Big 12, it doesn't even register according to their metrics. So with that being said, that's still the sweet spot, it looks like, is that 4 or more based on the statistical data that ESPN is pushing.
Okay, so if I said right now, Pat, if SEC gets 4, Georgia, Texas, who are the next 2 teams?
LSU and Tennessee.
LSU and Tennessee. Okay.
That's the 4 right now to me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Ole Miss, and we kind of talked about it in the break, their best win is South Carolina. Yeah. And then unless Ole Miss does the unthinkable and they're able to knock off Georgia when they play.
Well, let's just face it. If not only that, but they've got an opportunity tomorrow. Because Jackson Dart in SEC play, and Brett mentioned this yesterday, Brett Noseworthy, that in SEC play, Jackson Dart has been a non-factor in every SEC game they've played, whether it's been Kentucky, South Carolina, or LSU, with his arm. They need to absolutely paste Oklahoma tomorrow. There's no reason for them not to. You're playing at home. You're playing a wounded Oklahoma team that, Oklahoma's going to come in and they're going to play a feisty defense.
They are.
But there is no reason that Ole Miss, and that's another reason why Las Vegas has them as almost a 3-touchdown favorite?
20.5, I think.
Yeah. Over Oklahoma.
But I can't trust that team. Because I never know what I'm going to get from Ole Miss.
I agree with that, but I'm just telling you what they need to do. If I'm sitting down and I'm talking to Lane Kiffin and I'm telling him, Coach, moving forward, this is what your team needs to do to get back into the conversation. First off, you need to take Sooners to the woodshed. You need to take them out early and often. Then what you're going to need to do is you're going to beat Georgia, and this beating of Georgia needs to be more than a field goal with 1 second left. Like you need to impress the committee that Kentucky loss was a misnomer. And what happened at LSU, a lot of really good teams go into Baton Rouge and lose. So that's not that big of a deal. But you have got to get the attention off of that Kentucky loss And the only way to do that is to beat the snot out of the teams remaining on your schedule.
And you're close to the Ole Miss program because of family and a lot of history there with your family and that program. It seems like to me, just as an outsider looking in, the Ole Miss fans, they're not extremely vocal as far as being critical, it doesn't seem like. But it feels like, Pat, maybe it's fair, they're waiting to be overly critical and vocal and show their ire towards Lane Kiffin and the disappointment, but they're holding out hope that they can run the table. Somehow they can manage to get in the college football playoff. But I think the second that they know that they're not in, Lane Kiffin is going to hear it from that fan base.
There's no question about it. The one thing that they have been different than that we experience here on three-man front between Alabama and Auburn fans is they are holding out hope in regards to possibly getting back into that conversation. But the moment that ceases to exist and that is extinguished, get ready, because that's when the criticism is going to really ramp up for Lane Kiffin and what they're paying for and what they've paid for. And I mean, you're seeing articles this week, Landrum, in the stuff that we review and read as we get ready for every program, in which they're talking about a $10 million roster that Ole Miss was putting together for a college football playoff run. What has it gotten them? Zero. You're paying a coach $9-10 million a year, and not only are you not going to sniff an SEC championship potential, but you might not even get into an expanded college football playoff field. So the criticisms are going to be loud, and they're warranted because what they're paying him, what he hasn't delivered, and what the good people of the state of Mississippi has put forward in the NIL program, that they have not gotten anything for their money.
And you also have to wonder, it just seems like it's his personality. If you do see another loss, especially if you see 4, I would expect that Jimmy Sexton is probably reaching out a lot to potential other landing spots for Lane Kiffin. Maybe a little bit of preventative maintenance before, not that he would be fired at Ole Miss, but trying to let other people know that he would. I mean, look, let's be honest. Auburn was there, and he gave the reason why he ultimately didn't go. I think that there were other factors. Not saying that he doesn't care about his daughter or his family, but I think there were a couple of other factors that played into it.
Well, the bottom line, I mean, in the past, people would say, well, we just don't think Lane Kiffin has grown up enough to where we could literally give him the keys to this program. That was the feeling a few years ago. But now it's about the X's and O's. It's about the fact that you have put a roster together and you had the easiest schedule in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, that was as easy as it will ever get for a program being able to pave its way to either Atlanta or play themselves into a college football playoff berth, and they absolutely threw up on themselves. Whose fault is that? That is the head football coach's fault. So he's going to take that criticism. So if you're Florida, why would you want Lane Kiffin? I mean, I want someone to, besides someone that works for Jimmy Sexton, to tell me why you would hire Lane Kiffin.
How many marquee games has Lane Kiffin won since he's been at Ole Miss?
Well, you're proving my point.
1.
Uno.
And you now lost to that team this year.
Yep.
So,
And you had to score 56 points to do
it. Yeah, last year, yeah.
But you are right. I mean, the criticism will grow louder. They do it a little bit differently over there in regards to their criticisms for both Mississippi and Mississippi State.
Hey, sleepwalk into that Egg Bowl. You get Jeff Levy, that group fired up to play like it's the last game they're ever going to play in their lives.
And I'll also throw this out. You have to wonder if they take one more loss. Yep. Because I heard some things after the LSU game from some people that I trust.
And this is what happens when you have mercenaries and independent contractors.
Bingo. So just get ready. Whether it's a surprise loss at home to Oklahoma or Kirby Smart comes over there and does things to your football team that you wish wouldn't happen. See how many of those people are
illegal in some states?
Yeah. See how many of those guys in that locker room are opting out and deciding to move on. And that's for every college football team, but especially one that it's bought and paid for.
No doubt. We'll continue. Steve, hang on. We'll get to your phone calls, your texts as well. We continue this Football Friday, 3-Man Front and Jocks, 94.5.
Coming up in a matter of seconds, we will do bet it or forget it. I give them 5 games. They give me 5 answers, whether they're going to play it or forget it. That is next here on 3-Man Front.
Well, as we move further away from the hot weather, you know your HVAC system worked overtime this summer, so make sure you're prepared for the months and years ahead with a Trane comfort system. Right now, Trane's Unstoppable event offers you peace of mind with a 10-year warranty on parts and labor with select Trane home comfort systems. To learn more, go and visit Trane.com.
All right, here we go. I give them 5 games. They give me 5 answers. This is bet it or forget it.
The following is for entertainment purposes only. Listener discretion is advised.
3-Man Fronts. Bet it or forget it.
Okay, so game number 1 this week, the Nebraska Cornhuskers taking on the 4th-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State is a 25.5-point favorite. The over-under is 48.5. Now, Nebraska, 9 straight against the spread losses versus ranked teams. That is the longest active streak in all of college football. Nebraska also has 26 straight outright losses versus ranked teams. They're 9-17 against the spread over that time frame. Ohio State, meanwhile, they're 8-3-1 against the spread as a favorite of 20-plus points in conference games since 2021. Let's start with you, Conrad. You going to bet it or forget it?
I'm going to bet it. This one is kind of a gross line, to be honest. Yes, hey, Molly, I see you. I'm sorry, Molly. You know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
No cheering in the press box, Robinson.
I'm not cheering.
She's trying to influence my decision.
She was intimidating you.
smiling.
That's exactly what she was doing.
Yeah, I don't like that, Molly.
Nope. Dirty pool.
I was already going to make this pick anyways, but now I feel even better about it. I'm going to take Ohio State minus the 25.5. I'm sorry, Molly. I wanted to have faith in Nebraska, but what after I saw last weekend, I'm just going to go with Ohio State.
All right, Landrum, better or forget it?
I'm going to bet the game. I'm actually leaning towards, I think a lot of the public is going to have the same sentiment that Conrad just had after watching that disgusting beatdown in Bloomington, or B-Town, as some would call it. I actually think Nebraska finds a little bit of manhood in this game, and they're able to keep it under the number. Give me the Corn Shuckers plus the 25.5.
All right, how about you, Molly?
Landrum, I like that train of thought. Because I know it is the hopeless Cornhusker inside of me. But you know what? What if Ohio State, they're in a look-ahead spot. They got Penn State on the road next week. So I like Nebraska to cover, but maybe to barely cover. But still to cover.
Like they lose by 24?
Yeah.
You totally just went Valley Girl there. To kind of cover, but sort of cover.
Sort of cover?
Cover.
All
Okay,
right.
good. We're on the same page.
We are.
Game 2, Oklahoma takes on number 18 Ole Miss. The Rebels 21.5 point favorite. The total's 48.5. Ole Miss 6 straight games have gone under the total. That is the longest active streak in the FBS. Oklahoma, meanwhile, 5th time being an underdog this season. They were an underdog 5 times combined over the last 7 regular seasons. Ole Miss is 4-0 against the spread as a 20-point favorite this season. Let's start with you, Landrum. Going to bet it or forget it?
I'm going to bet the game. There's no way I'm going Ole Miss minus 21 points after what I've seen. They're too unpredictable, but there's absolutely no way that I'm betting on an Oklahoma team that I've lost all faith in. If there's any faith, though, it's that Brent Venables has a good plan. He's able to do that passing attack with Jackson Dart, that other SEC teams have done. I'm going to take the under in this one. So give me the under at 48.5.
All right, how about you, Molly? Going to bet it or forget it?
I'm going to bet it, and I think Landrum might have read my notes because I also like the under.
You read my notes.
You read my notes. But yeah, I do not like this 21.5 number. And I know, this is a bad spot for Oklahoma because they just fired their OC. So they've scored, I think, 12 combined in the last 2. I think this is going to be lower scoring, especially with the inconsistencies with both teams. So I like the under.
Conrad, you going to play it or forget it?
I am going to play it, and I'm going to hide my notes better because Landrum and Molly were both looking at my notes, apparently, because I also like the under in this game. I think Ole Miss is going to win, and I think it'll be pretty comfortable, but I am more confident that Oklahoma is not going to score points, and Ole Miss will have some struggles with that defense.
Who done it?
You stick it up. Yeah.
Who done it?
Freeze. Everybody freeze.
I feel like we're in that episode of The Office where they're playing the board game.
Or the Spider-Man meme.
Or the Spider-Man meme.
Or Reno 911.
We don't have the short shorts.
Okay.
All right, next game.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
so funny.
LSU is taking on the Aggies of Texas A&M down in College Station. The Aggies a 3.5 point favorite. The over-under is 53.5. LSU is 12-1 against the spread versus Texas A&M since 2010. That is the best any Power 4 team has against a single opponent in all of college football. LSU 17-9-1 against the spread as an underdog since 2017. Let's start with you, Molly. You going to bet it or forget it?
Oh, I'm going to bet it. And who would have thought that we would be in this situation after losses to Notre Dame and USC in week 1 for these teams? But I like LSU to cover here, and here's why. I know Kyle Field is a tough place to play, but the Aggies will be bringing out their black jerseys for this game, and this will be the first time since 2015 and only the 4th time in history they won these jerseys. And let me take you back to November 28th, 2015, where they played the LSU Tigers in their black jerseys and lost 17-9.
Oh,
Give me LSU.
She's going black jersey trend there. Okay, so you got LSU. All right, Conrad, you going to bet it or forget it?
I am going to bet it, and I will just say this one stat. These teams have played 8 times as ranked opponents. LSU has won all 8 of those times. So I'm going to take them to win a 9th time. I like LSU to win and cover.
LSU 12-1 against the spread. Their last 13 against Texas A&M. Texas A&M 1-5 their last 6 games at home against the spread versus LSU. You know what a merry milkman wearing all white fears the most? A yellow stain. Mustard stain, if you will. I like LSU plus the points.
I'm glad you clarified that.
Because of the corn dogs?
Yeah. Sure.
All right, Auburn is at Kentucky. Now, this point spread has moved. We're going to play it at -1.5 for Kentucky. The total is 42.5. In the underdog role under Hugh Freeze, the Auburn Tigers are 1-7 straight up. And going further back, they're 3-23 straight up as dogs since 2020 for the Auburn football program. The Tigers have closed as dogs in 6 total games since 1990 versus a team with a winning percentage below 500 straight up, and they did so last season versus Arkansas, making 2023 and 24 the first time they've done it in consecutive years in that span. UK has lost 10 of their last 12 SEC games straight up, dating back to the 2022 season, and Kentucky has not beaten Auburn at home since 1966. Conrad, let's start with you. You going to bet it or forget it?
I am going to bet it, and I'll be honest, I feel like this is going to be a pretty ugly game to watch with how good Kentucky's been defensively at times, some of the struggles Auburn's had offensively in terms of consistency. So I like the under in this game. This one, I'm not going to be surprised if this is a 17-10, 17-14, a close, gritty game, but I really like the under tomorrow.
All right, Molly, you going to bet it or forget it?
Quit looking at my notes because I also like the under. Yeah, this number is just screaming under, especially because you have a Kentucky team that has really slowed down the last few weeks. And of course, you have Auburn, who is very turnover prone. I think they're tied with both like Florida State and UAB with a -10 turnover margin. So yeah, I'm with Conrad. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be low scoring. The under.
Although I'm going to fade Auburn for the rest of the season, I also had the under in this game. I think both teams find it difficult to score points. A sloppy one there at Kroger.
The stadium.
Yes. Not all 3 at your local Kroger.
All right, the final game of the week. Number 21, Mizzou. They're taking on the 15th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Homecoming down in T-Town. Bama is a 17.5 point favorite. The point total is 56.5. Bama is 15-1 straight up, 7-9 against the spread after a loss since 2010. And the under has gone 12-3 in those games. The Missouri Tigers, meanwhile, they're 5-1 against the spread on the road since the start of last season. That is 5th best in all of college football. But the Tigers are 0-3 against the spread in SEC play this season. Bama, meanwhile, they're 0-3 against the spread in their last 3 overall games. And Bama hasn't lost 4 straight against the spread since September through October of 2007. Let's start with Landrum. You going to bet it or forget it?
I'm going to bet it. Don't you do it to me again, Alabama. Surely they get it right this week, especially with the injuries on Missouri's side of the ball. Plus, I've never bought into the hype of Missouri this season. I like Alabama minus the 17.5. Happy homecoming.
All right, Molly, how about you?
I'm actually going to take the under again in this one. Just, with the inconsistencies that we've seen from Alabama and the way that they've looked since, honestly, the second half of the Georgia game, and obviously with all the questions with Missouri and all their doubtful players, I don't know. I think this is it's not going to be ugly like the Kentucky-Auburn game, but I do think it will be on the more lower scoring end, so I like the under.
All right, let's go to the Tua-clad wearing Conrad Van Order.
Yeah, I'm going to bet the game. If we had stayed playing the 13.5, I was talking myself into flipping and going for that just to support the Tide. But at 17.5, this has been my gut all week. I love Missouri to cover in this game. I think Alabama wins, but I don't think it's going to be a great performance. I think Alabama wins 28-20.
All right, that is this week's Bet It or Forget It. For record purposes, we go into this week as Conrad is literally a percentage point ahead of Molly He is 18-21 against the spread. Molly is 18-22.
Despicable.
Landrum is 16-24 as we head into this weekend's action. So
yeah, thanks, Alabama.
Maybe you should start fading Alabama like you have Auburn.
No, there's plenty of games left. Wait for the one on Red Stick.
Oh, boy.
Stay tuned for that. All right, we continue. Three-man front and Jocks 94.5. $12.49 three-man front. Bet it or forget it. Any portion of the show that you've missed, great news. Three-man front podcast at jocksfm.com. You can find all of our visits with various guests that join us, various segments on the show. Monday through Friday, you can always download the Jocks 94.5 app as well.
Well, the Pants Store, they have a huge selection of all things game day clothing, shoes, and accessories. I actually went there this week to get my outfit for the game this weekend. I'm super excited, but they have a giant collection of all things rompers and sets, boots, clear bags. They have you covered. And believe me, they definitely have an outfit for the entire family, your husband, your boyfriend, whoever. They have an outfit for everybody. So shop online at thepantstore.com or in store at one of their 6 locations in Alabama.
Excited to be joined by our next guest. It is time for the Road to Recovery, brought to you by our friends at UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine.
This is the Road to Recovery, presented by UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine. Visit uabmedicine.org/sports to set up an appointment today.
And a rarity, Dr. Jeremy Towns joining us. He is in non-operative orthopedics, orthopedic sports medicine there at UAB, but a local product, played locally here at Winona, also played under Pat Sullivan at Samford, and 3 different teams in the NFL. And then to cap off that illustrious career, became a medical doctor. Dr. Towns, how are you?
I'm living the dream. Glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us. When you see the game of college football as a defensive player, and I will go football specific here first, you see offenses. What is the thing that perturbs you the most as a former D lineman?
People not knowing how to play with technique as a D lineman, not knowing how to use their hands, get ball, get off, those type things.
You know, I thought you were going to say the faking of injuries.
I thought he was going there.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go there since what he does for a living now. What do you think, Doctor, about when you turn on a college football game and you see these antics go on, not questioning whether these players are hurt or not, but just the fact that from a strategic point of view, that appears to the fan, that's exactly what's going on.
Definitely. The faking of injuries, especially being on this side, is very frustrating because I don't think the player, as well as even sometimes the coaches, know that from a medical standpoint, we always are thinking the worst. So when a player stays down, you know, we're always thinking, like, if a patient literally can't get up, we thinking they can't move, and then from there we're automatically thinking something's wrong with a lot of times their cervical spine.
Dr. Jeremy Towns joining us, part of the Road to Recovery. Our friends at UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine present us this segment each and every week. And Dr. Towns joins us on the Buyers Right hotline. Non-operative, that's usually a good sign if you're a young athlete, if you're a student athlete, and you've got to go to the doctor. That means that there's not a surgery that is needed. Maybe that increases your recovery time. What are the most common injuries that you see coming into your office, Dr. Towns?
The most common injuries from an athlete perspective probably is ankle sprains.
Ankle sprains. What is the difference in the low ankle sprain and then the high ankle sprain?
So both of them can take a considerable amount of time to get back from. But usually with the low ankle sprain, looking at the lateral ligaments of the ankle. So if you press on an athlete's ankle, it's usually the lower ligaments. When we say high ankle sprain, what we're really almost saying is lower leg sprain. So the 2 bones, the tibia and the fibula, a lot of times with the high ankle sprain, you're disrupting the ligament that connects those 2 bones. So we say high ankle sprain. Another way to look at it is lower leg sprain.
What is the most common course of treatment that you recommend for your patients that are maybe in the middle of a football season and trying to get back as quickly as possible?
So it's not, you know, a grab bag, one size fits all.
Sure.
It depends on the severity of the injury. It also depends on how much pain the patient is in. But what we always try to say is, you know, let's protect the patient first. So, you know, if a patient is in too much pain, has too much swelling, they can't go. But then we look at stability. Can a patient even walk on the ankle first? And then can they do what need to be done for their sport-specific things? So we work on, does the patient have range of motion? Do they have stability? Do they have strength? So each patient is different. Each patient has a different pain tolerance. And sometimes even with the high ankle sprain, surgery or not surgery might not change the outcome, you know, how long it takes to get back from the high ankle sprain. You can none-op somebody. They can go a conservative route, and it can still take as long. It's just each person's body is a little different.
It's interesting perspective because you played major college football. You played in the National Football League. When you were in the pros, was there one specific ailment that kept you in a training room more than any other?
I actually had a high ankle sprain in college, and I think that kind of changed the course of what my career looked like. It was hard to get back from that high ankle sprain, and I was training with my friend Nick Williams, a local Birmingham person that played a long time in the NFL and hopefully get picked up by another team here shortly. He encouraged me, and that really got me back off my high ankle sprain. But I think I always kept battling that even in the NFL. I was always in the training room getting that back. And then I had a sports hernia, which was a popular subject at one time in sports medicine. But I will always have like growing issues. But I would say that ankle, I always had to nurse it. I always had to kind of baby that ankle, even while in the pros.
Now, and I've seen it from different defensive linemen. Booger McFarland, probably the most prominent. Are your fingers, are they pretty much intact? Now, I'm not talking about the finger being attached, but as far as not being crooked and all cattywampus and going every which way, because I know that is prominent in the NFL, especially with the fingers getting stepped on, especially on the defensive line.
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate. My fingers are intact, so I don't really have a lot of issues with my fingers at all.
Well, that's good, considering what you do as well. Dr. Towns,
yes,
we appreciate it. Enjoy the college football and NFL weekend, and we'll tell people how they can get in touch with you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Dr. Jeremy Towns, Road to Recovery, UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine. They do an absolutely wonderful job. We'll continue to let you know how you can get in touch with them. Make an appointment with Dr. Towns, the entire staff there at UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine. We continue here on Three Man Front. High school games coming up tonight. Kyle Parmley, the best in the business of Starnes Media. He's going to break down the key matchups as region play concludes and we get set for the playoffs. Three Man Front on this filthy Football Friday. Jocks 94.5, JocksFM.com, and the Jocks 94.5 app.
It is hour number 4 on this Football Friday. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5. Take us along no matter wherever you go. Download the Jocks 94.5 app. And when you're on that app, you can simply hit the streaming button And whether you're in your office and you need to just listen to the audio, you've got that option. Or if you want to watch Landrum every single day for 4 hours,
you don't.
You can hit the YouTube and you can watch Landrum.
Look at Conrad and the different degrees of Conrad with his face during the course of a show, especially when we talk about Tua.
He's already had a wardrobe change.
Yep.
It's too hot in here.
He discarded the hoodie, not the Tua jersey.
Does that not itch? With
it's not ideal.
Some of the stitching?
It's not ideal.
If that was tackle twill, that would be unbearable.
Yeah, but see, that's not tackle twill.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh, that's not an official jersey.
No.
Okay.
It is not.
He got that at one of the big box stores.
Yeah.
No, this is a game worn jersey. Thank you very much.
Is it?
Yeah, I wore it every game day.
Good clarification.
That is. That's how you sell it on eBay, right? Schemer. How about Roof Max of Hoover? When you're up on the roof this fall, because the leaves are falling, you got to clean out the gutters. You start looking at the roof and you hadn't been up there in a while and you go, ooh, is that mold? Is that algae? Looks like I need a new roof. Oh, think again. Our friends at Roof Max of Hoover, they have a professional and affordable roof treatment scientifically proven to reduce the aging process of your asphalt roof. So instead of spending $15,000 to $20,000 replacing, that's the average cost of replacing a roof in the United States, you can pay pennies on the dollar. This is how it works. Roof Max is going to resaturate your old, dirty, dry shingles with a natural, bio-friendly treatment that can give you 5 more years of protection. Absolutely guaranteed. Get a free roof assessment from Roof Max of Hoover. Listen to the number, 205-913-2243, 913-2243. Use promo code JOCKS for a 10% discount and the free roof assessment. Once again, 205-913-2243. And make sure you tell them Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
Kyle Parmalee from Starnes Media joins us now. Talk a little high school football as, man, it's hard to believe, Kyle, that it is almost over with the regular season. Many teams wrapping up regular season games tonight. Still a week to go before you start thinking about the playoffs in 2 weeks. But, man, this season always goes by fast.
It really does. I was sitting there thinking about it the other day. You just look at the schedule and you're like, wait a minute, I'm already looking all the way to the right. And it's almost over. And, we've got one more week of region play tonight. And, there's not a lot left to be decided in terms of who's making the playoffs. A few of the games in this area that we'll be covering tonight they have seeding implications, but we kind of already know for the most part who's going to be in.
Let me go back to the game last week, and I think you were there, if I'm not mistaken. The Thompson-Hoover game, another wild one in which Thompson, the 3 games that they have lost this year, have all been by a point in overtime. Very odd stat.
It really is. I mean, no matter what, this Hoover-Thompson game always seems to deliver. I mean, being out there for that one last week, it was another great game. I mean, it started out the first quarter and a half, probably Hoover was clearly the better team. They played so well and got up 10-0, and then Thompson roars back, ties it at the half, and then the third and fourth quarter is just back and forth we went, and just turned out to be a really good game. I thought both teams played pretty well overall, but I'll tell you the difference maker in that game was Jonah Winston. He's played a little bit of quarterback, a little bit of running back, a little bit of receiver for the Bucs the last few years, and they put him in on a 4th down and 1 at quarterback, and he scored a touchdown. And then in overtime, they put him back in at kind of a wildcat quarterback situation, and he scores the touchdown and ultimately the extra point that won it. So, the Bucs, that's a really big win for them. They get the region title back after Thompson won it last year. So I got to say, I mean, hats off to Hoover. I didn't know if their offense could produce at that level, and they showed up, and both sides for the Bucs were really impressive.
So we have Vestavia taking on the Bucs tonight. Vestavia 4-4. We know they got off to the rough start. They had to replace a lot of guys from last year's team. They beat Hoover and snapped a winning streak last year back early part of the season. When you look at this Vestavia team, I realize that they have gotten better, it seems like week by week, but where do they stand in regards to not only region standings, but maybe making a little bit of a dent in the postseason?
Yeah, it's been really impressive to see what Vestavia Hills has been able to do. I mean, this is our Under the Lights game of the week tonight. I'll be out there at the Hoover Met. And like we just said, like Hoover wrapped up the region title last week. And so they're not necessarily playing for anything standings-wise, but this is one of, the Hoover community's longest rivals with Vestavia Hills coming in. So you got to see, and like you mentioned, Vestavia took it to him last year and won handily. So Hoover's definitely going to want to get back on the right side of that rivalry. And for Vestavia, then they start out 1-4, such a tough schedule at the beginning, a slew of injuries, and they've just kept battling, and they've won 3 in a row. Gary Lloyd and I actually had head coach Robert Evans on the Under the Lights podcast this week, so I'd encourage everybody to go check that out. He's in good spirits, having locked up a playoff bid out of Region 3. So I'm interested to see what we get tonight because, a lot of pride on the line for both of these communities. And it's kind of funny because the Vestavia Hills coaching staff and athletic administration has a lot of Hoover ties to it as well. So it's going to be a fun night out at the Med, and I'm interested to see what we get from both sides.
I want to ask you about a game that concluded last night. Homewood, who was 6-2 going into the game against Minor, who was 5-3, and I think Homewood showed out last night.
Showed out is quite. I mean, I don't even know if that's strong enough because this game against Minor was to determine the 2 seed out of that region. And the 2 seed is such a big deal because the top 2 seeds in each region get to host a first-round home playoff game. And Homewood, with a backup quarterback in Caleb Carson, went out and dominated Minor, 41-0. I think that was the score at halftime. Just a great performance for the Patriots. They'll get a playoff game in the first round at home. I think Athens will be the opponent. So Homewood, if they can get starting quarterback Will Myers back, they got some momentum going now. I would not want to play that team come November.
Another game that took place last night, you had Mountain Brook at Shades Valley. Spartans trying to get some momentum heading into postseason play. Meanwhile, for Shades Valley, hasn't been going great this season and trying to get some things done. They've also had some close losses, some close contests. Tell us how this one went, and I'm sure it was a lot of Mountain Brook.
Yeah, it was a lot of Mountain Brook. Mountain Brook finishes the regular season with a 7-3 mark with the win last night, and they dominate. That's 2 straight shutouts for them. It's just so odd the way the schedule worked out. Mountain Brook finishes the season with 3 straight Thursday night games, and a couple of them against opponents that they should have handled, and they did. But, I think 2 weeks ago, they kind of, mucked around a little bit and didn't handle Pinson Valley the way that, they thought that they should. And so head coach Chris Yeager issued kind of he implored his team like, hey, we got to be ready to play these games no matter when they are, no matter who they're against. And safe to say the last 2 weeks they have done that. Hadn't given up a point, only a few first downs, honestly. So Mountain Brook looking good. They'll get a bye week heading into the playoffs. And one note that I thought was pretty cool from last night's game, Mountain Brook, the whole team wore the Guardian caps on their helmets last night. So we'll see if that becomes any sort of a trend. But I think they're one of very few teams that have ever had the whole high school team wear those Guardian caps on their helmets last night for a game.
All right, let me ask you about Chelsea and Benjamin Russell. Now, this is not for the top of the region, but we are talking about some playoff seeding. Give us a little preview of Chelsea and Benjamin Russell.
Yeah, Chelsea heading down to Alex City tonight to play Ben Russell, and this game will determine the 3 and the 4 seed. The winner gets the 3 seed in that region. The loser takes the 4 seed, and yes, no matter what, you're going on the road in the first round. But here's the deal. The loser of this game gets the pleasure of traveling down to Saraland to play the Spartans. And I promise you don't want to do that under any circumstances. Saraland's been, one of the best teams in the state in 6A for the last, few years now. And they're really good again. So the loser of this game is not going to want to face the reality of doing that. But, I mean, the whole that region down south, I mean, when you look at St. Paul's and Spanish Fort both having great years too, it's not going to be a favorable matchup either way. But you definitely want to win this game tonight so that you can go to the lesser of 2, whether when Saraland and anybody else is on the other side of that region.
Kyle, I'm going to be heading south after the show. Spain Park wrapping up region play, but a chance to at least equal some history there as they take on Chilton County. Spain Park undefeated after a dominating performance and winning over Calera 42-7 last week. Chilton County, meanwhile, the Tigers just 2-6 coming in. How do you see this one shaping up?
Yeah, this should be business as usual for Spain Park. I mean, the Jags, like you said, going for a little bit of history. They're going for their second perfect region slate in program history, and the last time they did that was that magical 2015 season. So they'd like to wrap that up tonight, and they'll have one more obstacle next week at Gardendale in that quest for a 10-0 regular season, which, to my knowledge, they have not ever done. So that's something to shoot for. I can imagine, Landrum, if you go ask Tim Vakakis, he will mention nothing of the sort. It's all about getting back in the weight room, trying to be better every day, because that's the way they do it. But Spain Park's going to win easy tonight, I believe, and set their sights on 10-0. And it's one of those things. They started out the season so well. You're trying to not peak too early necessarily and keep building and improving. And Spain Park has done nothing to show any letdown or anything like that over the second half of the season.
You mentioned that region from down in the Mobile area. Offhand, could you tell me who Spain Park would potentially host in the first round?
Well, you've got it might be somebody like McGill-Tulane.
Okay.
Because Saraland, St. Paul's, and Spanish Fort have all had phenomenal seasons. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, McGill-Tulane, Theodore, Blunt, Gulf Shores, there's all of those teams I think might be somewhat still mathematically alive. But no matter what, I think Spain Park is going to be the heavy favorite in round one.
All right, so speaking of that, historically speaking, from a 7A perspective, it has always ended up being a Region 3 Birmingham team playing more than likely either Phoenix City or Auburn for the state championship.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that potentially changing this year? Are there teams in Region 1, which is basically Mobile, or maybe Region 4 up in Huntsville? Are there anybody that could potentially contend with the typical Birmingham or the Central Phoenix City Auburn connection?
Yeah, I honestly really don't think so. I mean, if you look at Region 1, for example, the winner there is going to be Mary Montgomery.
Right.
And they're gonna host the 4 seed from Region 3, which is almost assuredly going to be Vestavia Hills. And Vestavia Hills does not go down there as a heavy underdog by any stretch.
Right.
So there's certainly that possibility. Now, I will say, I just think overall, and yeah, we'll dive into it in the next few weeks, but we've gotten so used to the way that the regions, Region 3 will sweep and they'll play each other again in round 2 and
Right.
kind of, beat
But they've
each other.
changed it up again this year. I know a lot of people, and we'll talk about this, next week, but they have kind of mixed it up a little bit to try to even out some things.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just telling you right now, Region 2 this year is so good. I mean, last night, Carver Montgomery came back from like a 3-touchdown deficit in the second quarter and beat Opelika, a team that beat Central Phoenix City a couple weeks before that. And Carver Montgomery is a really, really good team this year, and they're going to finish 5th in that region and not make the playoffs. So Region 2, I mean, if you said all 4 of those teams that are going to make the playoffs in Region 2 were the 4 best in 7A, I mean, you could argue it, but you could argue both sides of that. That's how good Region 2 is this year. So Auburn, Central Phoenix City, Opelika, Enterprise, those are some really good football teams.
You do have a few more games from around the area. We know that Pat and crew, they'll be heading down to County High as Hewitt-Trussville 7-2 takes on winless Tuscaloosa County. I told Pat, though, I have fond memories of Tuscaloosa County because of where we were set up from our vantage point on the visitors' side. The concession stand for the visitors' side is right there, and they have a lot of tasty things that they offer.
Well, you just made the case for Husky fans to go on out to T County tonight, even though the game is probably not going to be all that competitive. Hewitt's going to roll tonight. Yeah, I know. Hewitt's going to roll tonight. That'll be a good way to cap off the regular season for the Huskies. And then I guess, one other matchup, Hillcrest is visiting Oak Mountain. Oak Mountain, had a great start to the year, but as the schedule really toughened up, they kind of struggled a little bit down the stretch. So Oak Mountain will finish up their regular season tonight as well. And then the other game that we'll be covering, Briarwood paying a visit to Hayden. We talked about that Briarwood team, man. They got close to fighting for a playoff bid at the end there, but Corner was able to beat John Carroll by a touchdown last week to kind of thwart the playoff hopes for the Lions. So those are a few other ones tonight, but yeah, so it's almost time to start talking playoff ball.
All right, be strategic when you go out to the Met tonight and where you park as far as your exit strategy. Or just at least make sure you have plenty of gas in your tank.
hey, we've had volleyball regionals at the Finley Center the last 2 days. I mean, my car has certainly learned how to get to the Hoover Met the last little bit.
Well, Kyle, have a great time tonight. You always do a wonderful job, not only covering high school football, but appearing here on this show and breaking it all down for us. We'll talk to you next Friday. Have a great weekend. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, guys. See you soon.
Kyle Parmalee joining us, Starnes Media, on the Buyers Right Hotline for all your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
It's going to be a beautiful weekend, and I know there's a lot of great games on television, and you need to get out to Courtesy GMC. The good news is they've got 11 televisions in their showroom, so guess what? You will not miss one single down. That's right. You can go shop for a brand new GMC there at Courtesy GMC. You can get your car serviced, all of those things, and you won't miss a thing because of all the great football that's going to be on in their showroom. And matter of fact, they've got incredible deals to go along with the showroom and the obviously the service center. $15,000 off MSRP on the new 2024 GMC Sierras. Multiple to choose from. The pricing is on the Hot Elevation Premium Package with a 4-wheel drive, leather interior, sunroof, 20-inch gloss black wheels, blacked out accents on the exterior. Great looking truck. It's even better deal. And you need to get by there because they're not going to last very long. Remind you as well, the Yukon XLs, the Acadias, the Terrains, the Canyon trucks. Go by and see them. Wonderful people. They're in Trussville off of exit 32, I-459 in Trussville. That is Courtesy GMC. Visit them online at courtesybirmingham.com. More three-man front on this Football Friday edition on Jocks 94.5. It is 1:21, Jocks 94.5 on this Football Friday. We'll do some Pat Ponders coming up at the bottom of the hour, kind of get you into the weekend with some pondering questions. Always appreciate Kyle Parliament. Just an outstanding job, him and Gary Lloyd for Starnes Media, covering high school sports around the Metro Birmingham area.
Well, Big Whiskey's is your place for great food of all varieties with a full menu ranging from apps, salads, burgers to steaks. Plus, their bar features unique cocktails, over 120 whiskeys, including whiskey on tap, and plenty of screens to catch all the games all weekend. This holiday season, let Big Whiskey's do all the work as they can cater for your business or social party of any size. Check them out, Stadium Choice Village off Highway 150 near the Hoover Met.
Okay, so I will admit that I have not gone and I have not dusted off the SEC tiebreakers to try to figure this out. And I sent this to you guys yesterday afternoon because this was making the rounds. This is a crazy circumstance that potentially could happen in the SEC. It ain't going to happen, but it is fun to talk about it as we're sitting here almost to Halloween. So if Bama wins out on their schedule, they finish 6-2. If Georgia loses to Ole Miss, but they win the rest, they finish 6-2. If Ole Miss wins out, they're 6-2. If LSU loses to Bama and let's say Vandy, they're 6-2. Tennessee loses to Georgia, they're 6-2. Texas loses this weekend to Vandy, they're 6-2. Vandy loses to Tennessee, but they win the rest, they're 6-2. If A&M loses to LSU and then Texas, they finish 6-2. And then if Mizzou loses to Bama tomorrow, but then they win out, they go 6-2. So that is 9 teams that on paper, let me stress, on paper,
it could happen,
could go 6-2 in the SEC.
All right, here's the tiebreakers for 2024.
Oh, gee.
Ready? In descending order until the tie is broken. First, head-to-head competition among the tied teams.
Oh, my gosh.
That would take a year. Next, record versus all common conference opponents among the tied teams. Okay? If we still have to keep going, record against highest or best placed common conference opponent in the conference standings and proceeding through the conference standings among the tied teams. You still don't have it broken? Cumulative conference winning percentage of all conference opponents among the tied teams. Next, capped relative total scoring margin versus all conference opponents among the tied teams. And then my favorite, F.
Flip a coin, right?
Random draw of the tied teams. Let's get that on the SEC network in primetime.
That's my vote.
I mine too.
Just kind of a lottery.
We talked about it yesterday. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Could you not do the lotto, like ping pong balls sucking up through the thing?
Or do you cheat like you did in the NBA lottery that year?
Oh, with a frozen envelope. I know. Yeah, that's where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the conspiracy theorists if Alabama won the tiebreaker in a random draw.
Bama hater would lose his mind if Alabama ended up getting.
He might do a backflip over Vulcan.
That is insane. But just to think that at least on paper, that could potentially happen.
When will we vote on this inside of Vulcan's head? That'll be a Sunday, right?
My good friend Jess, he just sent me something, and I have not seen this, but I take him for his word. He says that that Texas A&M is the SEC team that has the best chance to get into the CFP with only one conference loss.
I mean, you got to beat LSU and Texas, which, I mean, it's possible.
But you look at everybody else and what's the carnage that's already happened in the SEC.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to bank on that, but it's possible, yeah.
But, man, just to see that and to hear what Landrum just laid out as the tiebreakers. Now, I know there's computer programs for that. I like to take pen to paper to try to figure some of this stuff out, but
that'd be a good project for you on a rainy day.
Oh,
and your satellite's out.
Well, I tell you what.
And you don't have any way to get anywhere.
Well, with how much he pays for that, I don't think it's going out.
I have that thing on 20. Even when I'm not at home, it's running. I'm trying to get my money's worth.
You might as well. You should charge neighborhood folks to come over and just watch your TV.
But 9 teams that, like, right now could go 9-2. Excuse me, could go 6-2. 9 teams. Now I think some of this is going to be taken care of this weekend based on some of these what if scenarios, like Texas losing to Vandy. I think you can mark that one off the list. Don't shrug your shoulders. Don't act like you're a Pavia guy. Don't do that.
I am a Pavia guy, and I will shrug my shoulders.
No.
I think Vandy plays them tough. Anchor down.
Is that the way you voted on the 3-man front Twitter poll question of the day?
Music City Town.
Woo. Whatever that meant.
That is actually the way that I voted.
It was?
Yes.
That Texas is going to get a scare?
Yeah, they're going to get a scare.
Okay. Do you think LSU is going to lose to Bama and Vandy?
No.
Okay. So you can mark that one off the list. Do you think Ole Miss is going to win out?
No.
All right. You mark that one off the list, which also means by that Georgia would not lose to Ole Miss.
Correct.
So see, there's 3.
There's 3 off the list.
And Conrad doesn't think Bama's going to win another game in conference play. So you can mark that one off the list.
This is true.
So see, I've already eliminated of the 9 teams. We've already
knocked out 4?
Yeah.
So we only got 5 that we have to decide from.
Yeah, it's a lot more doable to figure that out. Like Vandy loses only to Tennessee. No, you can mark that one off. There you go again. Your love for Diego.
That look.
I know.
It's really my affinity for Clark Lee and his father.
Because when Auburn beats Kentucky this weekend, that will make you a believer.
There you go again, Pat.
You're going to make them a believer.
Talking up Auburn.
And then all of a sudden, Pavia is going to come in town, and Auburn's going to slap them around.
Goodness gracious. How many times does Auburn have to break your heart for you not to take them?
I haven't taken them, but I'm taking them this weekend.
Kroger at night, man.
Whatever.
It's been an emotional week there in Lexington.
Whatever.
Seriously, with the Stoops and their loss of their mother.
Well, I don't doubt that part, but
I'm just saying. And as bad as they played last week in Ben Hill Griffin, a cool Kentucky night, as that bluegrass is swaying through the breeze.
That would be AstroTurf, but okay.
Outside of the stadium?
Outside of the stadium, yeah.
There in the common areas?
1-800-239-WJOX. Let's go to the phones.
Let's go to Dr. Mel. Dr. Mel, welcome in.
Hey, guys. How are you all this afternoon?
Well, sir, how are you?
It's great to hear from you.
Always great to hear from you guys. You all do such a fantastic job. And of course, I was just sharing with Conrad. I know it's his alma mater, my alma mater. But Bama get back on track. We're coming down the home stretch. And I predict a score of 49-10 Alabama.
Woo!
Forget about this
Tide rolls.
9-team scenario. And look, you all can say you heard it from Dr. Mail first. Vandy is not going to play Texas close. They're going to beat them. Pavia is on a roll, so Texas is still with their heads hanging down from Georgia's spanking last week. Welcome to the SEC. Vandy will rise up and take them down.
Oh, wow.
It's a doctor saying that, Pat, so you take that to heart.
Okay. Hey, listen, I respect Dr. Mel. If he says that, then I believe it.
No, I predicted last week, and people saying, no, Georgia can't, roll into the Cotton Bowl and do what needs to be done, and I picked them just straight up. But this week I like Bama and I like Vandy. Again, these young men are on a mission, and they out to prove that they're not the worst team in the SEC. Roll Tide, you all continue the fantastic job that you all do. And Tamale, roll Nebraska.
There you go. There
I'll
you
take
go.
that.
Thank you, Dr. Mel. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You have a good weekend. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank
God bless you. Gentlemen.
Very much so.
We need more of those.
So he's buying into your narrative.
Yeah, you just totally crapped on, and then Dr. Mel came and totally picked.
Well, here's the difference. Here's the difference, Lance. I don't know if you figured this out. I respect Dr. Mel.
Oh, I know. I respect him too.
I don't respect you.
Whoa.
That was scary.
That was. Jinx.
Are we going to do that pointing thing like y'all did earlier, which was very awkward? That was weird.
Everybody's.
Stop doing it. Put your hand down.
You just felt left out. You want to do it. Go ahead.
Stop.
Guns up.
Don't.
Keep doing it, Molly.
Stop it.
This is kind of fun.
She's just now figuring out our technology.
She's just now understanding that she can look at the monitor. It's like she's a TV weather person.
Molly's got a new toy.
You see all these clouds over here?
Wow. She's calling us clowns.
This
No,
is like
clouds.
this
Like
is
I'm
like-
a weather.
I thought you said clowns.
No,
You were pointing at me and saying the word
This is like the
clown.
mobile over the crib. Molly just got a new trinket.
Back to the phones we go, 1-800-239-WJOX.
Let's go to Dave. He's in Hoover. Hey, Dave.
Yeah, you know, at the end of this, real quick, I got a real short Halloween joke for you.
If it's clean.
Whatever, but-
If it's clean.
Oh, it's clean. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So Kentucky, man, every year we go through this with them. It seems like, they go 5-1, 6-1, and they end up losing like 4 out of the last 6 games in the year, except for the year they went 10-2. But it's like the same broken record with Mark Stoops in Kentucky.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, he
Pat
doesn't have any money to play with. I mean, I get it. I mean, I don't know if they're in a big hurry. But anyway, real quick, this Halloween joke. Little kid Johnny walks up, knocks on the door with this group of kids. They're about 7 years old. Lady says, "Oh, hey, Johnny, what are you?" And he goes, "I'm a pilot." And she goes, "Oh, you like to fly airplanes?" So he puts his hand up over his eye and he goes, "No, I'm a pilot, a pilot." She goes, "Oh, well, where are your little buccaneers?" He said, "On each side of my bucket head."
That's good.
Thanks, guys.
Took me a second. Thank you. I appreciate it. That was kind of a dad joke. That was less controversial than his call yesterday. All right, we continue. 3-man front. Pat Ponders is next. 136 three-man front. We do have questions from Pat we'll try to answer coming up in a moment. If you're looking to upgrade and enhance your outdoor living area and landscape, our friends at Second Generation Masonry, that's the team for beautifying any area. Fire pits, landscape steps, garden walls, stone patio, and walkways, also custom driveways. If you think about it, and I didn't name it, I guarantee you they can build it. Over 2 decades in business here in the state of Alabama, both commercial and residential. Look at the completed projects that they have at Second Generation Masonry.com. That's secondgenerationmasonry.com. Get the free quote today. Make sure you tell them Landrum from Three Man Front sent you. Pat's got questions. We try to answer. This is what we call Pat Ponders.
I want to know what you're thinking. Tell me what's on your mind.
It's time for Pat Ponders.
Brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Go by and see them this weekend. Great deals all across the board on GMCs. That is courtesybirmingham.com online or exit 32 off of I-459 there in Trustful. All right, question number 1. Should Gators coach Billy Napier keep his job if the Gators become bowl eligible?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. With that schedule that he had coming in and based on the roster, yeah.
I think so. They get bowl eligible, yeah.
And now you got a little something with Lagway and Ball, the freshman running back who had 5 touchdowns last week. You know,
future's looking up.
Things are looking better than I thought they would at this point.
If they beat a 1-10 FSU team.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
definitely need to win that one.
But, and to his defense, look at the teams that they've lost to. It's not like they've lost to anybody that they shouldn't have lost to on paper, and they've beaten some teams that they probably shouldn't have on paper. I guess you could make the argument. Central Florida and, well, Kentucky prior to last week. But, yeah, Florida State, that's certainly gettable. You got to win that game. Ole Miss, I think they can get Ole Miss there in the swamp. Georgia, not so much.
Question number 2. Who wins if they played this Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium? Alabama or Colorado?
Alabama.
Alabama?
Is this a bull junk question?
I was thinking about it. I was pondering it, so I put it to the masses.
If you took the time to ponder it, so you think there's a good shot that Colorado wins that football game?
Have you watched Colorado this year?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think Alabama would win, but I think it would be very uncomfortable. Because
that's my point.
You have a quarterback in Shedeur Sanders that could take a lot of advantage of that young secondary for Alabama, and that's a team that can score, and Alabama can score when they're playing well, but this team does not want to get in a shootout.
Thank you,
now.
Conrad, for seeing why I was pondering that question.
Against the guy who's predicted Alabama to lose out, you're going to take that from him.
Okay.
Of course.
I don't
you could have
think
said
he did
anybody
that,
except for Colorado. He said every conference game from here on out, Alabama's going to lose.
My line of thinking was exactly like Conrad's. You got a quarterback that's one of the best in the country. Alabama has been very fortunate because Nico did not play a very good game last week. South Carolina's quarterback was inoperable. You know what I'm saying?
And then you throw Travis Hunter on Ryan Williams and you say, good luck.
Maybe we'll get it in one of these bowl games then.
I think everybody involved on both rosters would be opted out.
Probably so.
Let's get that.
What do you think the point spread would be? In Tuscaloosa, Colorado, Bama.
Alabama 10.5.
Yeah.
I like 10.
I was going to say a little over a touchdown. Yeah. I was going to say like 9.5, 10.
All right, next question. Who is your midseason SEC head coach and SEC player of the year?
Right now, I would have to say head coach of the year, I would vote for Mike Elko.
Yeah, I would also take Mike Elko for the coach. For the player of the year, I'll be completely honest right now. This could change by the end of the year. It's just been kind of wishy-washy for a lot of the best players. I would seriously give it to Diego Pavia right now.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Clark Lee and Diego Pavia.
But it also goes to the old kind of the MVP discussion of, is it about who's the most valuable to their team or who has the best statistics? In this case, I think we can clearly see the impact he's had on Vanderbilt. I'd give it to him.
I like that answer.
Do you have a player of the year that you would vote for? Landrum?
I was actually going to go, Pavia, that's a good one, but I was going to go Garrett Nussmeier.
That would probably be the popular pick right now.
You have another one? As far as
another
players?
Question?
No, as far as players. I know you have another question.
No.
It was going to be Ryan Williams.
Yeah, not anymore. Yeah. He had 19 targets, Landrum. It's impressive.
Could be good in a PPR league.
Well, when you only catch 8 of them.
No.
Next question. If college athletes are getting paid and can transfer whenever they want, should college coaches be able to run off players whenever they want?
Technically, I guess we're not talking about just kicking off the team. We're just saying, hey, you're no longer a part of. We need to free up the roster spot. You can stay on scholarship with your education, but
essentially like cutting a player in the NFL. Is that what you're saying, Pat?
Mm-hmm. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where I just don't know how it would go because on the surface level, I don't think it's a bad idea, right? It makes sense. If players are able to opt out of a season and go hit the transfer portal and sit out the rest of the year, then it only seems right that it could go both ways. But it also seems like something that could ultimately be problematic.
I think it can be very problematic because there's a lot of guys that do want to leave. They do go into the portal and there's nobody that wants them. Mm-hmm. So then what are you going to do with them? And I guess if you say, and if it's not disciplinary, if it's nothing medical, if you evaluated that guy,
that's on you.
And you said that you are worthy of being on this roster and taking one of those scholarship spots, then ultimately you probably should have to live with it at least for a full season.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Next question. SEC fined Texas $250,000 for their fan behavior interrupting the Georgia game. How much should they have been fined, or in your opinion, was that enough?
$1 million.
Everything's bigger in Texas, Conrad. I say $2 million.
You got all this money. Everyone knows about it. You want to go and make an ass of the conference in your first year, you're going to pay for it. And I don't care if people look at it as, well, that's not fair if you were to charge Texas more. Yeah, it is. They got more money. And as bad as it's gotten at times, like I know this is happening at Ole Miss and stuff, but that was the worst that I've seen, personally.
Yeah, that was flat out embarrassing for Texas, so I'd go $1 million.
Go $1 million?
Mm-hmm.
You said 2?
I said $2 million.
So Conrad and Molly says $1 million, the fine for Texas.
Do you have a thought on that, Pat?
You guys know how I feel about all that stuff. I would have charged them $5 million, and the $5 million would have been dispersed through every single school's NIL program.
I was about to say, or make them pay $1 million to Georgia for what they did in that game.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful.
All right. I will give you guys a bonus question for the week.
Landrum, you've been so good this week.
With the only Kmart store left in the United States closing.
What?
Yes, there was one left, and it's closing. A liquidation sale.
Blue Light Special.
That's right.
Do you know where it is?
I think it's in the Northeast.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
I guess it's like that one Blockbuster that's still
hanging
around in Oregon somewhere.
Yep. All right, so with the Kmart getting ready to close officially, what defunct department store chain do you miss the most?
It's, by the way, the last Kmart is suburban Miami.
I thought it was Northeast.
Department store that I miss the most?
Mm-hmm. That's no longer around.
See, I feel a lot of them I almost have like negative connotations with, because I remember being a kid and like being drugged through them with my mom or my grandmother while they shop for clothes, and I'm just sitting there bored out of my mind. I will say it's not like I would go there all the time if it still existed, but there was something weird about Sears going away with just how big and prominent it was, especially at the Galleria, and that huge part just being vacant essentially.
That's
so
a good one.
I would probably go Sears.
Sears is a really good one. Remember Zaire?
Absolutely. Had one in right there in Roebuck.
That was a goodie.
That was Zaire was like one of the first stores to ever, like right after Thanksgiving, do the we're open 24 hours until Christmas.
Oh,
like that was even before Walmarts were super centers and they would go 24 hours. Zaire was like the first department store to say, hey, we're going to be open 24 hours a day until Christmas. Might be a reason why they're no longer around.
Yeah, probably hard to get staff.
They were acquired in liquidation.
How about you, Molly? Can you think of one?
See, I was kind of on the train. I thought with Conrad too, because I thought about Parisian.
Oh, that's the one. Yep.
I guess for one that like was a big part of my childhood, it was Limited 2. It was a store at the mall. That and like Libby Lou, that was in like a Parisian type of store. It was just like an oasis for like 5 to 10-year-old girls.
Well, you know, Toys R Us was a really cool place, and then they went away, and I think they have attempted to come back, right?
They have.
Yeah.
And did they go away again, or are they back?
No, I think they're back and limited.
You know what's crazy is, as a kid, we never went to Toys R Us hardly.
Really?
At all.
Oh, I went to that one in Hoover. That was like my favorite place.
I
as a
went
kid.
to Toys R Us more buying for my nieces and nephews.
Or did you go to KB Toy and Hobby in the Brookwood Mall?
We did go to that one.
That was a cool place too.
Yep. That was a good store. What was the other? There was another toy store. No. That's not Molly.
Why? Wow.
Mind out of the gutter. I
Wow.
saw her reaction. No,
Wow.
No, it wasn't what you're talking about.
Okay.
There's an old defunct Toys R Us in Lincoln that they turned into a liquor store, but it looks the same.
Oh.
So we called it Booze R Us.
That's funny.
That is
And it was like
funny.
one of the largest in the state, so I was just thinking about that.
Oh, I thought you were.
The old Toys R Us.
I thought she was thinking like
I
Naughty
did
Toy
too.
Box or something.
No. I was thinking about the old Toys R Us that they turned into a liquor store.
We all know Landry would miss Spencer's. It's okay.
I do miss Spencer's.
Aren't they around?
I think
Yeah, they
are.
still exist.
They
yeah.
still in the Galleria?
I just miss going in, looking
and laughing. Like going with your friends and then you start laughing.
It's like, oh, not supposed to look at this. Look at this.
All right, that's today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Exit 32 off of I-459.
We put a bow on a busy Friday. 3-man front and Jocks 94.5.
Coming up in about 8 minutes from now, it's the Paul Feinbaum Show live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He'll be there from 2 until 6, so keep it tuned right here to Jocks 94.5.
Well, if you need somewhere to celebrate a little happy hour to kickstart your weekend, why not head into Twin Peaks and Hoover? Because whatever your preference is, they'll have everything for you, from their tequila cocktails and their extensive bourbon category to their top shelf spirits and cocktails that are served over iced balls. They also have a wide variety of local craft beer options for you. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts when you go visit our friends at Twin Peaks and Hoover.
All right, let's try to get a couple more calls in before we get out of here for the week. 1-800-239-WJOX.
Let's go to Steve in Birmingham. Steve, welcome to Three Man Front.
Hey, enjoyed the show today. I'm going to skip to Alabama. This is about Army and Navy, because honestly, I don't know the answer to that. I know y'all would probably do, but how do they compete if they can't get NIL money and they can have people transfer in, but they can't do NIL? How do you see them competing? I've never heard anybody address that.
Well, they can take a unlimited number. If you look at their recruiting classes, they have a lot of guys that decide not only, number one, they're going to get accepted to one of those service academies, but they're opting to play football. But I think that they have done a really good job of attracting, at least nowadays, more of some of that top talent and getting competitive with some of the things that they do. But you're right, there's limitations, but I think scheme has certainly helped them for a while. But here of late, their rosters have been upgraded as far as just athleticism across the board. They're fast everywhere.
So you're saying because they're attracted to go there. I mean, they've got to commit to some time in the military to go there, don't they?
Correct. Yes, they absolutely do. So
yeah. So the best of the best, as far as people that align with wanting to go in the military and play football, they're going to get the best of that.
Correct.
I still see that as a small pool, in my opinion, as far as talent. But I may be
scheme has a lot to do with it too. The triple option is tough to it's tough to defend, but also on the defensive side, they can do things because of the intelligence level of their players across the board that a lot of other teams can attempt to do, but a lot of times they get burned doing it. Those guys on those respective teams, they can do it like clockwork, muscle memory, and that's an advantage too. They can give you trig on defense when everybody else is doing fourth grade arithmetic.
Kind of like the old Yale basketball.
There you go. Good example.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. All right. Have a good weekend, y'all.
All right. You as well. They're just tough as hell. There's no quitting those guys. And there's no me in those guys.
I was about to say, they're the most disciplined teams in the country.
Well, especially now. Not that you haven't always had me guys, but the concept of team, that is what they live and breathe every single day.
I mean, think about this. I was just looking at this. So Air Force is 8th in all of college football in the least penalized category. Army is 9th. Navy is 41st. Now, when I say that Navy is 41st, they've only been penalized 34 times all year. 34.
And I'm guessing it's all like illegal motions, illegal formation.
Meanwhile, Alabama had 15 on one Saturday against Tennessee. I mean, just think if Alabama had disciplined players like you see at the service academies, and you're only getting 2, 3, 4 penalties a game.
Yeah, how many unsportsmanlikes do you see from those penalties?
Not many.
Yeah. Different breed of dudes. We're lucky to have them serving this country. Lucky to have you. Thanks for tuning in this week. I hope you have a great Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're back at it. 10 a.m. for Reaction Monday. Oh, goodness. Could it be crazier than last Monday? Paul Feinbaum, live from Tuscaloosa. Next, on your home and America's home for college football, Jocks 94.5.